Halloween
forever.
Steve, you see this? You keeping up with the news lately? A lot of stuff going on. A lot of big stuff flying under the radar with all this people shooting at the president and people dropping out of the president race and all that. You hear about all this?
Yeah, you hear about this? Did you see
hear about
this?
You hear about this? You hear about this clown shit? Yeah. So there was this invasion of killer clowns at this beach. It was a big story. It might have missed it. But yeah, apparently they didn't expect anything. They didn't suspect anything, rather. Jesus Christ, I'm all fucked up. They didn't suspect anything, Steve. They were just like, hey, how bad could it be? It's just one little boat. Welcome. It's close to a fucking very fucking awesome, fucking perfectly executed Showdown episode of Halloween's Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Steve, and that joke took the wind out of my sails. Cha-cha-cha-cha.
I'm thinking maybe I should 1, start over, 2, kill myself. 1, really only 2 options. I am all out of sorts here, Steve. We were just jib-jabbing here before we jumped on the old Discord and started hitting record on the Discord here. I'm down in the basement and I'm all out of sorts. For those of you who are loyal listeners, you know that if we're recording separate or even if we're recording in person, we usually record up in the Crypto Kel, up in my spooky office with all my spooky stuff everywhere. Well, my family are up there making a whole bunch of fucking noise. So I didn't want to interrupt them. They're doing their thing. So I said, I'll mosey on down to the basement. It's nice and cool down here. It's got me all fucked up, Steve. It's got me all out of sorts.
Yeah, it's got you all turned around. You don't know what you're doing. You got new noises in the basement you got to turn off. You got to go find your beers.
I got to deal with noises. I got to find my beers. I got my fucking things strapped to a damn cooler. Tubi ain't helping the situation. I put on Tubi, as I typically do when we start recording. This rat fuck, this arrogant, uppity goddamn TV app decides they're just going to play some nonsense fucking reality Jersey Shore wannabe piece of shit show.
Butt
just
fuck
like
Island.
Yeah, it's just presumptuous as hell playing fucking reruns of Buttfuck Island over here, Steve. That's not what I want. I said, so you know what, Tubi? I'm going to teach you a goddamn lesson, you rat fuck. I'm going to put on Big Money Hustlers starring ICP. But then I backed out and I put on Street Trash instead, which I think is probably still going to teach him a lesson. So, all right, here we are. Believe it or not, it is fucking August. I can't believe it. It's unreal. I had a motherfucker of a week at work. It's Friday evening. I'm trying to get down on some beers, and we're going to watch Joe Bob. It's going to be a whole hell of an evening here. But boy, howdy, it has been an absolute motherfucker, and I can't believe it's August. And it's August Showdown episode, which means all of our lovely social media friends and listeners helped us to pick and ultimately voted on a topic that they wanted to see for the Showdown, and then they picked a movie associated with that Showdown topic, particularly our Patreon subscribers over on the patreon.com/Halloween's Forever. For those of you who've been keeping score at home, following along, the topic for August is Blood Beach. That's a spooky-ass movie about the beach and taking place on and around the beach. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. But before we get into all that motherfucking shit, I got to get this beer down my gullet and start surging through my veins. Steve, you sipping on a little brewski over there?
I got brewski. I got hot weather brewski. And I bet I've had this on the show before because it's a seasonal. I drink it when it comes around for the season. But it's that old Shiner. And it's their lime and sea salt Shiner.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't love regular Shiner. I don't usually drink regular Shiner, but they got a couple
just
seasonals.
Like a straight up Shiner Bock.
Yeah, I don't care for that, but I love a couple of their seasonals they got, and this is one of them. Mm-hmm. That and Shiner Cheer for the holidays. I like them both.
I like that grapefruit, grapefruit ruby. What was it, Ruby Redbird or something? I thought that was all right, but I'm also just a damn slut for anything grapefruit.
I'm a slut for limes. So, hey, that's for our audience. If you want to know what citrus we're sluts for, there you go.
Also, boy, like I said, I'm just watching here, just kicked on a little street trash here, and our boy's just discovering the Tenafly Viper back behind the wall here. So it's getting me itching for some syrupy poison too. But you know what, Steve? I'm not going to bury the lead here. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm drinking on a good old Pilsner Urquell. I have not went anywhere to buy any fucking beer in a minute. I've just been slowly, like, I bought a case of Pilsner Urquell a few weeks ago. Been drinking pretty much exclusively it, and then just clearing out my cooler of all the odds and ends that are in there, of all the old beer and the shit I've talked about 100 times on the show. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just fucking keep it consistent. Let's just keep slugging on a little Pilsner Urquell. I mean, I imagine the Crypto Urquell upstairs is feeling a little forlorn that I have forsaken it for this particular episode. So in its honor, I'm just going to drink about 2, 3, 5, 6 of these here Pilsner Urquells.
Oh yeah. I think tomorrow I'm gonna have a little beer shopping in my future, because I too am.
Yeah, me too.
I cleared out my fridge as well.
All I have is a bunch of big old barrel aged shit and stuff like that, which, like, first of all, I rarely drink too, and when I do, it sure as hell ain't 90 degrees out like it was today.
Sweaty day.
Anyway, guys, before we get into these 3 sons of bitchin' movies we got to talk about today, remember, if you want to help us to either suggest topics, vote on topics, if you want to find out more about what our episodes are going to be for that month before they come out, if you just want to see some spooky shit on the internet, you can go over and follow us on social medias at Halloween is Forever on Instagram, Facebook, or at Hallow Forever on X too. Also, I haven't mentioned in a while, if you want to send us one of them some bitchin' emails, you can do that as well. It's halloweenisforeverpod@gmail.com. We'll occasionally get back to people on there. And then, as I mentioned, if you want to be one of the, frankly, when it comes to this particular month, I don't know, sadistic assholes that pick the movies, meaning our patrons on Patreon who support us with paper money, and you want to pick the movie that we have on the Showdown episode that goes up against me and Steve, you got to go over to patreon.com/Halloween is Forever. They really did a number on us this time, Steve. I don't know if they were trying to win or if they were just trying to piss me off and make me want to lay in traffic and drink bleach. But this movie, I won't lie. I enjoyed it a little bit.
Yeah.
If it was 1 hour long, I would have been able to tolerate it more, but it was a standard feature length motion picture, and it really got fucking old pretty quick. But we'll degrade our patrons here in a second when we talk about what that movie is. Steve, why don't you tell the boys and ghouls at home what else they get if they sign up, help us out with paper money on Patreon?
Well, yeah, on top of getting degraded and run down during the normal episodes, you also get reviews. You get reviews and recos. If somehow they win the vote on social media for this showdown, they'll get to pick the punishment film, which is wild. Really don't see that happening, but who knows? Maybe the rest of the audience is after us as well.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that there's some sort of conspiracy. There's something happening behind the scenes here, because nobody should willingly pick this movie to go up against, the movies that we talked about.
Right.
Anyway.
And then the other thing you get is our new exclusive one that's happening, and it is Youth Group is Forever, where we look at Christian horror. And our 3rd episode just went up, and it is on The Burning Hell, a 1974 fucking propaganda indoctrination film that is like MK Ultra for poor Southern whites.
It is, really. Yeah, we've got a real whole scope of weird Christian propaganda horror movies. Everything from, the evils of New Age thinking to the evils of pornography, and now to the evils of not believing in hell, basically. Yeah. That is 100% the story. There is nothing else to it. The entire thing is, in order for you to go to heaven, you got to be scared of going to hell. And in order to be scared to go to hell, you got to believe that there's a real hell, a place where you physically go and get burned and tortured, and worms are constantly eating you, and you're always falling. Like all types of wild shit. So basically, you know, if you ain't going to hell for porn, if you ain't going to hell for having crystals, you're going to go to hell for not believing in hell. Yeah. So, you know, that's pretty much what this is about, is what are we going to go to hell for this month? I haven't decided exactly what we're going to go to hell for next month. I got, you know, a couple 2 tree movies in the hopper here, trying to figure out what we're going to pick, but it's been a lot of fun, and hell isn't real. That's all.
Hell all isn't real. Say. God ain't real. Jesus ain't real. A lot of that stuff ain't real, but you know,
he might have been a real guy. He wasn't son of God. There is no God in hell, and also hell is not real. You do not have to be scared of it, but it is fun to talk about. Fun to see. Yeah. Fun to watch other people be real scared of it.
There's a lot of wild media around it, so that's fun.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, there's a guy. He's got like a crazy. He looks like if Dracula from Castlevania got crossed with Gautier from that video, somebody that I used to know. That's what Satan looks like in this movie. It's fucking bonkers. That's what the devil looks like. Anyway, guys, yeah, check it out. It's a lot of fun. You can also be with us actively, joining some of our friends that are here with us, watching us record live via the Discord, our Discord server. Yeah. And so we always have some of our friends in here watching us record this live, and then you get to hear before it releases, and then you get to interact with us in the chat and put a little silly stuff on there, and you know, it's fun. It's fun. We love having people in the chat here with us while we record. You basically get the VIPOS treatment, which is you become a very important piece of shit. And I swear to Christ, if you come over here and you give us another fucking movie like The Sand, we're going to have words in the chat. We're going to have words in the Discord.
Get on the Discord to get antagonized. How about that?
Antagonize. We'll fight. We'll cut promos at each other.
I like the idea of cultivating an antagonistic
with our supporters, with our greatest supporters who pay us actual money every month, right? Just calling them pieces of shit, cutting promos. I'm going full heel here, guys. For the second half of 2024, I'm going full heel turn.
Do you know what that turns us into? That turns us into the county fair dunk tank clown.
Oh, hell yeah,
where
dude.
People pay to try and dunk the clown, but we're just sitting there like, let me see your girlfriend. Your tits are bigger than hers.
Yeah, that's me, man, all day. I love that. I'm going full heel turn for the back half of 2024, guys.
Sick.
All right. So getting back to our issue at hand here, our Showdown episode for the lovely month of August. First of all, I'd be completely neglecting my duties if I did not tell you that we got about 2 weeks until Halloween season starts. About halfway through August, it's full on Halloween. And I don't give a shit what you say. There's going to be all the Halloween stuff's going to start coming up in the store. We're going to have yummy October beers. Oktoberfest and pumpkin ales are probably already hitting this week in the beer stores. It's still 90 degrees. I get it, but we're starting to get a little bit spooky. So in a couple weeks, it's going to be full on Halloween. And I don't give a shit what you say. So we're going to start ramping up to some fun Halloween episode, very Halloween centric episodes. Obviously, we're always talking horror. We're always talking spooky, ooky shit. And frankly, we talk about Halloween stuff all year round too, but we really get into that spooky season spirit once we get into, you know, the latter part of August and certainly into September. So if you got Halloween topics or Halloween movies or Halloween specials or anything like that, you're like, boy, howdy, I wish you guys would do this for a little mini-sode or maybe even a showdown. Let us know. We always love to hear that. Okie dokie. Let's get right into these fucking movies, guys. Like I said, Blood Beach was the topic. We did a couple of things at the top of the or I guess it was middle part of last month when we started figuring out what this topic was going to look like. We said, first of all, obviously movies we've done in the past can't do again, right? So we also put Humanoids from the Deep we had not done, or no. Yeah, we hadn't done Humanoids from the Deep, but we had done a couple other beach movies, right? And we were like, hey, obviously can't do those again. Then we put up some Meg Rails and some gentlemen's agreements and things like that. Like, hey, we ain't going to do Jaws, right? We're not going to do a Jaws situation because everybody knows that's a good-ass beach movie. We're also not going to do Humanoids from the Deep. We also decided to do that because we both like that movie a whole lot. So we said, let's do a little deeper dive, right? We like to peel back a couple layers of the onion. So in doing so, our Patreon subscribers, they voted, and actually multiple of them suggested this movie, and then it ultimately won the vote. We're talking about the sand/blood sand/ at least one or two other things from
Killer
20
Sand.
and 50. Killer Sand from 20 and 15. So that was their pick. I picked a little spooky ooky tale called Dead and Buried from 1981. And then Steve picked a little fun horror slasher comedy romp from, I forgot to write it down, 2005?
4, but yeah, close enough.
Four, called Club Dread from the boys over at Broken Lizard. So those are the movies we're going to be talking about now. I think because listen, correct me if I'm wrong here, to the victor go the spoils. I was the last one to take down that son of a bitch in championship strap. So I am the reigning champ, undisputed, unified world champion. So I get to pick the order. Yeah. For that reason, I would suggest, I think we go the sand first. I think we get that piece of shit out of the way.
Okay.
It's hot ass garbage. Then I think I'm going to go with Dead and Buried, and then I'm going to let you bring it up last. How's that sound?
That's fine.
It doesn't matter how it sounds. That's how it's going to fucking go. Sorry. I'm really in the mood to just cut promos here tonight. Let's without further ado, let's jump into the sand from 20 and 15. Steve, you had seen this before, you'd mentioned, and apparently everyone else in the fucking world had seen it except for me. It just was not on my radar. And so that meant a couple of things. Either it sucks ass or I'm an idiot. And I know I'm not an idiot. So the other option ultimately was the reality, is that it absolutely sucks ass. Steve, was this a TV movie? I mean, this couldn't have got any type of significant theatrical release, right?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a theatrical release. I am pretty sure I saw this I thought I saw it within the last 5 years or so, and I was either drunk.
Okay.
I was either drunk on Tubi or drunk on Amazon Prime. It was one of those two. I knew I streamed it, but it had to be in that time period when Amazon Prime still had a bunch of just dog shit like this. Mm-hmm. And that is, and Amazon Prime was easy to navigate. So it was either on Prime when it was still a good app to use, or it was on Tubi, because Tubi basically took all of the films that were on Prime and absorbed it into its library, and hey, we got all this bullshit now. So it was one of those two. But I definitely was fucking blasted when I watched this movie. Yeah. And that's why I couldn't remember if I liked it or hated it. I remember I had some okay feelings towards it.
Okay.
But rewatching it sober, I was like, oh yeah, this movie is basically a first draft. And it feels like it, right? Yeah. The dialogue, the editing is a fucking disaster. The line deliveries really save it. They're some of my favorite. Mm-hmm. And it's not a bad concept. And frankly, I do appreciate the cheap, low budget exploitative spirit of the, let's think of a monster that we can make look good with really, really shitty low grade CGI. And when I say good, I mean passable. Right. So this isn't a big ass monster or something. It's a bunch of little fucking hairs that come out of the sand for 99% of the movie. So you can get by with pretty shitty CGI if that's the case. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that ingenuity, but it stinks something awful, and it is weirdly, I mean, for 2015, it feels like it's 10 years older than that. Yeah, it's kind of strange. Yeah, it definitely feels like a 2008 sci-fi film. Very much. The CGI is very on the level with the Asylum films. Mm-hmm. So it's on the level of those films, but it was produced kind of on its own in 2015. I do like the uniqueness of it being an outdoor chamber piece. Mm-hmm. Because you very rarely do you see something like that where everybody's stuck in the same location for the entirety of the film, but like they're trapped outdoors. So like that, I thought that's kind of a neat setup. Like I said, this is like a good first draft. You have a lot of good setups, and then when you execute it, though, just like nobody can act. Jamie Kennedy's there when you really wanted like a funnier, a funnier comedian.
The Jamie Kennedy portion. And I swear to God, in the last few episodes, unless I dreamed this, I defended Jamie Kennedy recently.
You
I
did.
think. Not defend it. I didn't say like I liked him. I just said like people hate him. He's not that horrible. He's a horrible stand-up, but like when he shows up in a, I'm thinking Scream, right? I'm thinking like movies from the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm not talking about 2015, like weird, like pathetic showing up trying to do the same bits as the 2002 Jamie Kennedy that we get in this fucking thing.
I
take back everything, even slightly I guess relinquishing that I said about Jamie Kennedy is what I mean.
Okay, and it's always fair to like admit your faults and walk things back, because
I'm a real flip-flopper when it comes to Jamie Kennedy. Everybody that knows me knows that.
You don't get elected on a flip-flopping Jamie Kennedy stance. But
no. I've always had a swishy stance on Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah. Jamie Kennedy has a definite cutoff date. And that cutoff date is 2005 when he did Son of the Mask.
What's really funny? Whenever I watched Club Dread right before we started recording, and I have it on DVD. I own a copy of Club Dread. I'm not ashamed to say that. Sure, it's actually fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I was opening up my DVD player, which I rarely use my DVD player that much these days. I pulled out the other DVD that was in it, and I put it back in the case. And on the inside of the case of the DVD I was putting back was an advertisement for Son of the Mask on the inside. And I thought to myself, wow, I forgot that piece of shit existed. I'll show it to you. It's one of those little, like, they used to put like little leaflet advertisements inside the front cover.
Yeah, like a coming soon. Like, be prepared to pay for this movie next. And it's like, no thanks. I don't think. Yeah,
inside the DVD like shell case, I saw Son of the Mask, and I was like, good God, I forgot that existed. Anyway, this fucking guy who directed this, right? Let me see. How do you say his last name? Isaac Gabaff?
Sure.
Gaboff?
Yeah.
Gabiff?
I don't think it matters.
It does not. So this is, he's got 4 directing credits up to this point. One of them is short. One of them is a movie that does not even have an image on IMDb. We've got The Sand, which is his only thing that actually has, some reviews at a paltry 3.8. And then he has something that nobody saw. It looks like he directed a film called The Art of Storytelling, which I know nothing about.
That sounds wildly up its own ass. Like that just that sounds like a filmmaking film about filmmaking, and it's just like who fucking cares?
It looks like it has a picture of, and I might be wrong here, but an illustration of somebody that looks like him on the cover. He has a very distinct look to him. Yeah. I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, that's him.
That sucks. So his first one was in 2003, then nothing again until 2015 with The Sand. And then the last short was in 2019. But apparently he's got 4 things in production right now. One of them is completed, called The Hard-Boiled Way, which was from 2018, but doesn't appear to have been released yet. He's got 1 in development, 1 in pre-production, and 1 in post-production. It's supposed to be released in 2024, called White Boy. It's a short. I won't watch any of those. That's all I wanted to say about that.
I think it's more important to point out that most of the time he's just a prop guy. Like he works in the prop
an art department guy.
Yeah, he has like 77 credits working in the prop department, and there's nothing that, there's nothing to look down upon about that. It's a good paying job. It's a good, I bet it's union, but hey, it's good, honest work. And he gets to go on the TV series of The Punisher and put the Punisher's guns out for him and put guns on the wall. And that's fun for him. He's not a great director.
Nope. No, it's not particularly. We do have a real sordid list here of folks who have popped up in a number of weird things, and there's a wild coincidence that I do want to bring up. And Steve, I don't know if you noticed this either, but well, I'll get to it when I get to it here in a sec. We've got Brooke Butler as Kaylee. You know, you saw her pop up in some things. These folks are, you know, occasionally will show up in, you know, in a Hallmark type movie. You know, her in particular, she was in one episode of Ozark. All Cheerleaders Die, which, you know, I do remember that movie. I don't know if I actually saw it, but like Brooke Butler, she will show up in movies from time to time. We've got Cleo Berry as Gilbert, which has 90% of the best lines in this movie. I don't know that I've seen him in anything. To be
I don't think
honest
so.
with you. I'm just scrubbing real quick if there was anything that looks even remotely familiar.
I saw the episode of House that he was on, but I don't like particularly remember him. So like, yeah, it's just that, you know, you just have a lot of people who got like side work. They do, like you said, they do a lot of the Hallmark movies, and they do like a lot of background extra work on TV, you know, or like the patient of the week's type shit.
Yes. Now here is a weird one, right? So there's a guy named Hector David Jr. He plays Vance. Vance doesn't last very long in this movie. Okay. So Vance, played, from, let's see what years we're talking about here. For quite a while, 8 years, he was on various incarnations of, more like 5, of the Power Rangers. He was on Power Rangers Samurai, Power Rangers Megaforce. He played a number of different, I think, characters, but primarily he was the Green Ranger. Okay. If you know anything about the Power Rangers, you know there's a little bit of a curse of the Green Ranger, right? If you know anything about the gentleman who played Tommy back in the day, the original one, he got into some stuff. He's no longer with us. Kind of a sad tale, but kind of, I don't know. He was, I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but had a little bit of a sad existence. This guy, Hector David Jr., but one day ago, we are recording this on August the 2nd, 2024. Just yesterday, August the 1st, an arrest warrant was issued for Power Rangers actor Hector David Rivera. And I believe he was charged with battery in Ohio after a video showing him pushing an older man who used a walker. Vance done pushed down an old man in a walker or something like that. And now there's a warrant out for his arrest. So just a wild thing. Like, there's no way in hell you would have ever heard this guy's name any time really since 2015, and now all of a sudden he just popped up in the news. And I actually saw this beforehand, and I was like, fuck, is that the Green Ranger? Is that one of the Green Rangers? Yep, sure as hell is. So Vance is back in the news, boys, and you know what, for that reason I expect Blood Beach, or whatever the fuck this movie is, The Sand, to see a real resurgence.
Sure.
All right.
Except for
I'm sure
it's off of most streaming platforms. It's only on Vudu.
It's literally not streaming. I regretfully paid, I think, $2.99 to rent it on Apple TV, which is very, very annoying. But that's just the reality of the situation, because it was on Tubi until a few days ago, and now it's not.
It's funny because I didn't put that together, because I had actually seen that. I had seen the news story and watched the video, because so you have this Hector David Rivera, and he was in Idaho and got into a fight with an old man. And so my instinct is, well, now it's not okay to be going around beating up old men, but he was in Idaho, so there's a good chance somebody said something racist.
Well, that's what I thought too. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Here's the thing, guys. It probably was some old racist guy. If there's an old racist guy in a walker, give him the finger. You know what? Spit on him. I don't give a shit. Maybe don't shove him down, because you're just going to get in trouble. And an old racist guy in a walker is probably not worth it.
But I did watch the video, and then it's just, he has this, Vance, he has this giant lifted truck, and he's parked in a handicap spot. So I bet the infirmed old man was yelling about a handicap spot being taken up by a giant truck and an asshole in a giant truck, and then he went and pushed him down to go move his giant truck.
Yeah, I'm back on team fuck Lance. Or Vance, whatever his name is, Vance. Yeah, I'm on team fuck Vance. Anyway, let's get into this horseshit movie so we can be done with it as soon as possible. Again, our Patreon's subscribers picked this, and I'd like you to answer for your actions in the Discord. So I don't know if any of the folks, I don't know which Patreon subscribers actually picked this, but multiple did, and it ended up winning the vote. I don't think it was by a landslide, but it did.
Well, no, it didn't. It didn't win a vote. It won the spinning wheel.
It won the spinning wheel. Yes, I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah, it won the spinning wheel, but multiple people did suggest it for the spinning wheel. Yeah,
increasing the chances that it would get picked.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So also, what the fuck is wrong with you? All right, so this movie starts out, there's a bunch of kids partying, and they are all douches. Every single one of them. And also, spoiler alert for later in the movie, they are not very resourceful either. They are all wildly stupid douchebags. One guy,
except for the double Steves, because it does have they do have a double Steve party happening, because they got two guys named Steve, and that's a double Steve party, and I like to imagine both those Steves are kind of chill.
Yeah, they were clearly not characters in this movie. They just went and shot at a party and just happened to have them there, and they just signed a waiver to be on the movie. So they are not characters. The Steves might be fine. I like to think they got away. They didn't die with the people who hung out all night on the beach. But
they left the party early to go kiss.
Yeah, they're doing a little Steve makeout section. So they again, these kids are dumb as fuck and all douchebags. One of them's name's Mitch. Who cares? Mitch makes everyone put their phones in a bag. They're having a big beach party. They're getting wild and crazy. They're drinking. They're fucking. They're doing weeds. All that sort of stuff. And he says, "Guys, it's Vegas rules. We got to put our phones in a bag so we don't end up on the internet." This was when it was possible to not end up on the internet. So everyone has their phone in a bag. He ends up putting them in the trunk of a car so everybody can just go buck wild. And yeah, it's like I said, he keeps saying it's Vegas rules. It's Vegas rules. So
I think Mitch has a micro penis. He just didn't want his micro penis on the internet.
Yeah, it checks out. He seems like that kind of guy. So there's some girl there, right? She doesn't want to drink, but then she does. And there's some other D-bag who's kind of, it seems like she's hung up on in some capacity. I didn't write their names down, Steve. What are the names of these two fuckwads?
So the names are kind of hero, I guess you could call her.
Yeah,
is Kaylee. Yeah. That's our
Kaylee,
main
red bathing suit.
Yeah, that's our main blonde. We have a bunch of blondes, but that's our main blonde is Kaylee. And then her boyfriend that she's hung up on is Jonah.
Yeah, I have him written down later. But Kaylee, she's kind of our main protagonist. It's just a bunch of dumbass white kids, primarily in this movie. Kaylee, the fucking worst name. Good God. Kaylee, give me a fucking break. Jonah, right behind it. There's just two awful names. So they were obviously a couple at one point, but now they're not really an item anymore. And now Jonah is with kind of macking on I think her name's Shauna or Shonda. I have it written down a little bit lower, but yeah. Anyway, that's where they're at. They're partying, things are getting wild. It's just basically looks like a found footage type movie. And it keeps cutting back and forth between the next morning where they all woke up, assumingly hungover on the beach, and all the wackiness that they got up to the night before. There's a lot of screaming. There's a lot of drunk dudes doing feats of strength, just fucking total douchebags. Vance, the Green Ranger, is doing flips and shit, karate and stuff. That's the other reason why I was like, oh my God, that's definitely him, because I saw him doing all the time. He might as well have been fucking fighting putties, the way he was behaving. And then all of a sudden, him and some other douchebag show up out of the blue with this big ass gooey, looks like an egg made out of squid, like raw squid. It looks like it weighs probably 500 pounds. And they're like, we're out of firewood for the bonfire. We got to burn this thing. And everybody's like, no one seems alarmed that this giant, probably 3 foot in diameter, slimy, alien looking egg, that they found on the beach. Everyone's just like, sick. Everyone's doing flips and kissing and whatever. And then, they're all about the nothing leaves the beach thing, but there's a guy with a camera. So again, they're doing this as like kind of a found footage. All right. So they all wake up hungover, and the Kaylee wakes up with Mitch in the lifeguard tower, and she's bummed because she thinks they might have banged, and he's a real twat. And there's weirdly a lot of scary music happening, but absolutely nothing happening on screen. There's like a topless girl laying on passed out on a picnic table on the beach. And you're just like, absolutely nothing is happening. But there's like 5 minutes of just like ominous music while you just see like topless people, drunk people waking up. And you think it should be like a wow, like, wake up kind of like, oh no, we drank too much last night. But it's like super menacing, ominous music that seems totally out of place. So then when something weird does happen, again, 5 minutes later, there's no real sting to it because we've been hearing this music the whole time.
Yeah. It's interesting because like they're doing this, I guess they thought it was like artful editing where they're cutting between the party and just like these kind of empty scenes of the beach, like where you don't really see much at all. You see like a bird flying by, but like you're saying, like the soundtrack is empty and menacing. And then, when they finally do wake up, it's still like real menacing. And like the menace is setting you up, but like the thing with the bird should have happened a lot quicker.
Yeah, because it does seem like it just lingers for a while. And then, like you were alluding to, essentially you see kind of like, it looks like the bird's kind of rustling around in the sand, and then it just kind of like sinks into the sand. Mm-hmm. So it looks like the sand eats the seagull. And you're like, hey, what the fuck happened with that? Marcia, who is apparently the topless gal who passed out on the picnic table, she kind of pops up. She steps into the sand, and all of a sudden she can't move her feet. It's like they're glued to the sand. And everyone's starting to kind of panic. They're like, what happened to her? She must have stepped on, some glass or something. And no one is helping her at all. She's screaming like something horrible is happening. And they're all just like sitting. Basically, there's 4 people, 2 couples in this convertible sitting on the beach. They all slept in the convertible. So 2 in the front seat, 2 in the back. And then you've got Mitch and Kaylee up in the tower. And then we realize that we got our boy Gilbert, who is the only, that's not true. I think Vance is not, strictly speaking, a very forgettable white kid. But Gilbert is a very large gentleman, African-American gentleman, and he's stuck in a dang barrel sitting out on the beach, which is fairly comical, and actually part of the only like comic relief of this that is on purpose is him saying wild shit from the barrel. So Marcia steps on the sand, and they're all in these very, Gilbert can't help him, but everybody else is perfectly capable of helping her. And she's just screaming, and they're just like, oh, what the fuck's going on with her? Eventually, Vance goes, all right, I got to help her. Hops out, immediately gets his feet stuck to the ground, falls face first. He's laying basically like belly down the beach, just screaming to beat all. He's shrieking, help me, help me, help me. They're trying to they're like, there's something on the sand. They try to drive the car over to him. Obviously it won't start. The sand you see is like eating his skin and his face, and anywhere on his skin that touches the sand is just getting basically almost looks like melted or eaten away. Mm-hmm. And his girlfriend from the back seat won't stop calling him baby. Which is honestly one of the strangest parts. Not like, oh, babe, oh, no. It's like, baby, baby. She said it like 50 times.
Yeah.
It's very uncomfortable.
She has a child's brain, and I
The
think,
whole movie.
Yeah, the whole movie. And I think she might be my favorite character. I don't know.
Oh,
but it feels
by
like
far
it.
my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, because she has like the most wildest shit that comes out of her head. Whereas like everybody else is pretty boring, pretty like Kaylee is fucking mean. I don't like her. She's just fucking mean most of the time. Shonda doesn't have much.
She sucks.
Gilbert is just a lot of complaining and like occasional has a couple lines. And then everybody else is a non-character. But Ronnie is a real fucking world-class nitwit. And I love her for it.
And she is... Oh, so she seems way older than everybody.
A little bit.
She seems like she would be in like a burlesque show, like off the strip in Vegas, like in one of the smaller casinos, you know, like she's a little bit older. She's got like she has like giant fake teeth. She talks like she got kicked in the head by a mule. And she delivers some fucking bonkers ass lines. And she's like, baby, baby, baby. She's just screaming. He eventually sinks into the sand or is eaten by the sand or whatever. We don't exactly know yet. And they're like, what the fuck was that? Blah, blah, blah. You know, they're reacting as one would if one of your friends just got sucked into the sand and blood everywhere and stuff like that. And they're like, it must be some sort of chemical or yeah. And she's like, yeah, or oil or something.
She goes on to she blames the government. She blames oil. She just starts shooting conspiracy theories like immediately.
Yeah.
Just immediately. It's the best.
Yeah. And then they're like really crazy, exasperated, like responses of like, oil doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Like the way they deliver their lines is so fucking fun.
Do you think, and because there are so many line deliveries like this, do you think it was done on purpose knowing that the cast wasn't that strong, or did the director just assemble like the perfect cast of non-acting actors? Like people who can't act.
Yeah, I think it's more the latter. I never really got the idea that there was much in the way of tongue in cheek for this. I think that this was a cast of people who had really don't end up, or at least at this point, like hadn't really been in a ton of genre movies. They thought of movies from the early 2000s and maybe 2010s that they knew that were horror movies that were a little bit more on the silly side. And he probably just said like, go a little over the top. You know?
Okay.
And that's what they did. But it's such a crazy swing because sometimes it's so over the top and sometimes they are just nonplussed by shit that they should be freaking the fuck out over.
Yeah.
So I think the directing is genuinely terrible in that way. But also, yeah, we don't got much in the way of talent here acting wise either. And also the script is garbage. I mean, there are kind of jumps around that I don't know if they're editing wise or they were just like stuff they didn't get the shot and they had to like piece it together. But there are certain things where like people were acting a certain way, cut back, they're acting a different way, cut back, they're acting the way they were before. You know what I mean? Like it's just there's some like I don't want to say incongruities, but like inconsistencies in tone from like one shot to the next. So I think it's just bad job. I think it's just sorry guys, bad job.
It might be a case of like the editor. This is also a possibility. The editor deliberately picked the worst takes of all.
I like to believe that.
Like he just because I'm looking at the editor's profile and like he has a number of projects and like none of them are, aside from the sand, are related to the director. So like he seems like he's just like a gun for hire, and then probably, maybe, possibly, he just decided to take the worst, most overacted takes and use those instead of like trying to actually piece together like something that's like a C grade or something like that. I don't know.
I do like to create like potentially fictional, like behind the scenes beefs between people.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I like that. That makes it more interesting than this fucking mostly boring ass movie.
Well, you have to, because it's like we're not getting the behind the scenes features of the sand in 2024.
Yeah.
Like
No, I don't think they're going to do a special edition 4K restoration release of the sand anytime soon. It's actively not streaming on any major platforms besides the ones that have everything and you have to pay for it.
Right.
Anyway, the phones are in the trunk, of course, right? We knew that, so they can't get to the phones. The battery's dead in the car. That's not what happens when a battery's dead, but okay, the battery's dead. Everyone is stupid and screaming at each other. It's just a sign of a poorly written movie when you're either letting people like ad lib too much, but they're all just screaming over each other and saying a lot of this, like saying like fuck, oh what the fuck, just over and over and over again. It's just, again, it's poorly written. We start to see these little hairs that are coming up from the sand, like almost these little, very, very thin, like wispy hair-like tendrils that are coming up out of the sand and wiggling around at people and gripping onto people. And that's kind of how they're getting after people. So basically, like I said, someone thought of an idea that would not look absolutely terrible with cheap CGI and said, let's pull it off. Like, I can get somebody to animate this super, super cheap, which is like brilliant. I love the idea. It just, if you would have got a couple, like that savings on a couple of decent performers, that would have made all the difference. Gilbert, again, is in a barrel, which I like a lot. And he's always, like you said, he's just kind of whining mostly about it, that like he's jammed in this barrel. They put him in there as a joke the night before and he passed out in there and his like legs are asleep and he's supposedly in pain, but he's never really that clear about what hurts. It's just like, it hurts. I'm in pain. I'm dying. He keeps saying he's dying. And I'm like, I don't think you are, but they do seem to be also like kind of antagonizing Gilbert.
Yeah.
There's also some really racist undertones in this movie and sometimes blatant racism, which we'll talk about here in a little bit.
It's just blatant racism.
Yeah, but Gilbert and Shonda are the only people of color. And Gilbert is the 2000, like he is the pre 2018 black guy in a horror movie that's got the tone of voice that you expect from a black guy in a horror movie. You know what I mean? Like he's saying things in this very almost cartoonish way. Like they were like, "You're the black funny guy." Like you could just tell that is 100% what he signed on to do. And he is pretty funny in most of it, but when he's complaining, they're kind of antagonizing him. Like he's just over there like, and they're like, "Hey, Gilbert, hold on a sec. We'll be right with you." Like they're always just like almost just saying things just to piss him off. Like, "Don't do anything, Gilbert. We'll be right with you. You all right over there, buddy?" They're just like saying stuff to him. And the one line that cracked me up, they're like, "You all right over there, buddy?" He just goes, "It hurts, Mitch." I don't know why. The way he said it just cracked me up. And then honestly, Vance just got eaten alive. Marsha just got eaten alive. Although I will say we don't really see Marsha get eaten alive, which I thought was pretty lame. But we see Vance get it.
This movie hilariously does not give a fuck about Marsha. It's like the funniest. It's like kind of the funniest possible, like either editing mistake or just shooting mistake or whatever. But like you said, we don't see Marsha actually die. We see Vance die when he goes for Marsha, and then Gilbert. I believe it's Gilbert waking up afterwards. And like when Gilbert wakes up, he's like, "What the hell's going on?" And they're trying to convince him to not get out of the barrel. And they tell him Vance died. And then he goes, "Oh, Vance died?" And then I think it's Shonda and she's like, "And Marsha too." And then like
he's like, "Who the fuck is Marsha?"
Yeah. And then they're like, the girl with the duck feet. And then for the rest of the movie, they call her Duck Feet most of the time. Yeah. It's just like, what the fuck did this lady do to you?
They just dunk on Marsha the whole time. I get the idea that like she was supposed to be just like a rando that wasn't necessarily part of their friend group that was there.
Yeah.
But also like she didn't really have very many lines. She was just there to have her boobs out. Like to be clear, that was what her role in the movie was.
Sure.
To get people to keep watching. But yeah, they are all, like always just dunking on Marcia throughout the whole movie, way after she's dead.
Yeah, way after she's dead, which is wildly inappropriate.
Yeah. But honestly, after that stuff happens, 5 minutes later, they are back to relationship problems. They forgot about Vance. They've all been forgetting about Marcia.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just talking about their relationship problems, the weird like love triangle between Jonah, Kaylee, and Shonda. And they literally just all kind of pair off, or not really pair off, the 3 in the car, the 2 in the tower, and they literally just like go to sleep. They just go and like duck down and just like just leave Gilbert in the fucking barrel, not talking to him, not helping him, not saying like we're working on a plan. It's just like we're gonna sit here and Gilbert, get fucked basically.
Yeah, we're gonna sit here
starts
and
drinking again.
Hope someone helps us. Somebody come save
Kaylee
us.
starts slugging booze. Yeah, they're not really trying to figure out a plan. They're just like, this is what's going to happen. Kaylee starts getting hammered again. The Hares, you see them, they're starting to like get on the tires now too. Vance's girlfriend's writing a letter. Like, what the fuck? Why don't you figure something out? Use your mental energy somewhere else. I know you don't got a ton of it, but just zero attempt to escape. Like, they are like, all hope is lost. Like, it's been a week. And it really feels like it's been 15 minutes. They try to show a little like montage of like time passing, like them napping, them crying, them rolling around, all this stuff. But it's the same day. It had never gotten dark. Like it has not been a full day, not even close at this point. And they are all like writing their like Dear John letters, basically. And then they come outside because up in the tent, they're just chilling up there. Not the tent, the tower. They're just chilling up there. They find some sunscreen and they're like, oh, this could come in handy. They come outside and they're like, look what I found. And they're like, oh, you found food? And they're like, how are you? You just woke up. Like, I get it. You might be a little peckish, but you're not desperate for food yet. And they're like, no, we found sunscreen because you guys are sitting in a convertible. Gilbert's over in a fucking barrel. We're up here. Like, here's some sunscreen. And Shonda, who again is the other African-American girl, she's like, what the fuck am I, give me the fucking sunscreen, you bitch, or whatever. And again, there's a little bit of animosity between them because they're fighting over the same guy. And they ADR over whatever her name is, fucking JC Jolly Kenzie Colley. What's her name? Kaylee. What the fuck? Who cares? They ADR over Kaylee's voice, and they insert this racist joke that's like, you don't need this, Shonda. You already got a base or something like that because she's dark skinned. But why did they ADR'd that? And I took it as they ADR'd that because from the looks of everybody's face, she said something racist.
She probably said something more racist.
That's what I'm saying. I think they said something worse.
Yeah.
And then that was the compromise that they thought was not too racist,
Yeah, they still had her say something racist. And when Kaylee is supposed to be your like final girl heroine, the person that you want to get the boy and all that, it's not good to have her be racist. Just like off the rip. Like, I'm jealous.
Typically.
I'm jealous, so I'm going to say something racist.
Yeah. So in 2015, it's just, it's wild. Not to say any hero in a movie hasn't said anything racist before, but 2015, you should have known better.
It's not a good look. It's also just like there's no better option to that, because the other option is she said that lesser racist line while on set, but they didn't get good audio of it, so they did it again.
Yeah, no, there's no outcome that was really good, right? So then they calm down, and then they all like finally, we got to assume at least hours have passed at this point. They finally come to the realization that they're the only ones there. The beach is empty, and that all the people who fell asleep on the beach died.
Duh.
The only people who survived, who are apparently alive, are people who are not touching the sand, either in the car, in the tower, or in the barrel. And they just came to that realization. They were like, oh, wait, Johnny's sleeping bag was over there, and Susie's sleeping bag was over there. And they all simultaneously come to the realization that all those people were at least a significant amount of other people were eaten by whatever is in the sand. And it was like, no shit, Sherlock. It took you hours to come to that conclusion that the only people who are safe are the people who are off the sand.
Yeah, right.
Like, they are a special type of stupid.
Yeah, they are a special type of stupid. And you as an audience member are way ahead of them on this. You're just like,
yeah,
come the fuck on, guys. What are you doing? You are just napping and trying to get snacks. And like everybody is dead.
Fighting over sunscreen.
Yeah.
Like, you've been out here for like an afternoon. Like, it takes me longer to mow my grass than you guys have been out here, I think.
Yeah.
So they try to make this tense moment out of Jonah throwing the sunblock to Gilbert. Like, it's a really like, oh my God, is he going to throw it to him? Gilbert's in the barrel. Is he going to catch it? Is he going to fall over? And he throws it to him, and Jonah catches it. I'm sorry, Gilbert catches it. Kaylee's like, good job, Jonah. And the way she said it, that she delivered the lines, just made me laugh out loud. It's just like this completely, like it was this thing that shouldn't have mattered in the first place, that you just made matter. And then after he has it, you like just have this very nonplussed response to it. I don't know. It's fucking weird. And then finally, they look over. Again, they've been sitting here for hours, having nothing to look at besides what's in front of them. And they finally remember, oh, right, the fucking giant mutant egg thing. And they're like, what was that? And he's, yeah. They're like, you dumbasses, you just noticed this fucking 3-foot diameter broken open egg 30 yards in front of your car? The girl in the back seat, again, she's just making insane faces, Ronnie, right? The whole time. She's just like, the way she delivers lines, she's like, she's trying to have this like really emotive face, but it just looks like has a I don't know, some sort of tick or something. They get this bright idea that they are going to throw hot dogs in the sand.
Hell yeah, dude.
To see if they get eaten, and then they get why hell yeah, dude, to throwing hot dogs in the sand?
Because it's the best scene in the movie. Throwing hot dogs. Scene of the beach is hungry. Watching hot dogs get eaten by the sand. Great scene. Love it.
Such a weird response. So then they start throwing hot dogs in the sand. You're like, hell yeah, dude.
Hell yeah, dude.
Like, that's my shit.
Yeah. Just throwing hot dogs. It's just,
yeah, let's watch a sand eat them. Let's watch a sand eat them hot dogs. Oh yeah. Turn them hot dogs into got dogs.
The reason why I said hell yeah, dude, is because this scene is such a testament to the idea of filling time for runtime. Like, this is the best thing they could come up with, is trying to test the perimeter of the perimeter of their essential fence created by the monster. Yeah. And they do it by just throwing hot dogs. Like, you can find other similar scenes to this in like Tremors, where like they kind of,
I was gonna say, this is a Tremors-y thing here.
Yeah, so like it's just so funny that this is what they came down on, of like, we're gonna throw hot dogs into the sand, and then the hot dogs get eaten. And it's just the other hell yeah dude part of that is like, somebody had to CGI hot dogs getting sunk into sand, because it didn't happen naturally. So they have like little VFX of hot dogs getting eaten by the sand, and it's such a weird, silly thing of just like all this work to go through,
sinking into the sand.
Yeah, all this work to go through for amounts to a scene that didn't have to happen, because you don't need to establish that there's a perimeter. It's just a thing. You can create the hope of escape otherwise. So yeah. This is why this is this is why it's a hell yeah dude scene for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, the perimeter really never comes into play that much anyway. Well, the one thing that pissed me off is rightfully so. I think it's Shonda. She seems to be the only one that's like not completely brain damaged.
Yeah.
Like, and she's like, you're throwing our only food. We could be out here for days, weeks, whatever. You're throwing our only food, which is correct. But I understand it. It's a not a terrible idea. But why are you throwing whole hot dogs? Throw a little chunk.
Yeah, that
break that hot dog into 8 pieces. What the fuck is wrong with you? Just throwing whole hot dogs?
I think it's also in this. It's after they kind of discover the egg is broken up, but Ronnie has another freak out, and she starts going on how it could be every beach everywhere. It's just
big leap in logic.
Yeah, which is just why you love Ronnie, because she is the most brain damaged, and that like she started with conspiracy theories, and now she's just taking this leap all the way. He's like, help's not coming because there is no hope, because it's happened everywhere across the world on every beach, and no one's gonna visit the beach anymore ever, and we're gonna die on it. It's just like, hell yeah, Ronnie.
Yeah, we're the last people on Earth all of a sudden. Yeah.
Your brain is fucking cooked.
What's more likely, something that's just happening for 100 yards, or something that's happening in every square inch of the Earth? Every square inch of beach on the Earth. This is a great line from Gilbert. Is as this is happening, Gilbert sees another bird get eaten by the sand, and he goes, "This fucking sand ate this fucking bird." Again, they're giving him bonkers, just wacky, typical, wacky, carried away black guy lines.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just, there's no other way of saying it. He's just like, this motherfucking sand is just eating these motherfucking birds.
It's still my favorite Gilbert line, but it's a good one.
Yeah. Well, and then right after that, I mean, he says something along the lines of like, "Mama told me not to bring my black ass to this motherfucking beach."
Yep. Which that is just like,
he literally.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know if he improv that or what.
He could have. I don't know, but it's a very specific thing that I would have thought would have been, not as relevant in 2015, but maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm naive. But anyway, then they realized they had surfboards the whole time, by the way. So obviously these surfboards can just be used as platforms to walk across the beach. But the idea is, are the surfboards going to get eaten? We don't really know that or not. But Jonah decides to figure it out. Of course, it works perfectly. Jonah makes it a whole lot harder than it needs to be. And they keep yelling at him and distracting him every time he moves one of the surfboards and jumps onto the other one. It's like they're trying to heckle him into making a mistake and slipping and falling into the sand. But then he also just stops halfway and again rehashes the relationship issues. And at one point, Mitch is like, he's like, "Well, you fucker, you're banging my girlfriend and blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Of course he was with the other girl 2 seconds ago." And Mitch just goes, "Dude, you're being a dick." I just thought that was such a 2015 insult. This was a funny line, or funny scene, just so subtle and dumb, but he's just sliding, somebody off screen is clearly just sliding the surfboard across the sand, and they're videotaping it, and someone goes, "The sand is moving the boards." In the background. So stupid. Jonah does this plank and then finally pulls himself up. Just basically, it looks like he's trying to make it dramatic. But then the little, wormy, stringy things come up and they'll tickle his little belly. And then he lays down the picnic table, and you see he's got these little injuries on his belly. And then he just falls asleep and grunts and then falls back asleep. And you're like, what happened to you? Did you get, what Ronnie describes as poison? Poison. Poyzun. Poyzun. She keeps poison. It's been poisoned.
That boy is poison.
But we really don't. That boy is poison. I really don't know what happened. Are we meant to believe that it is poison? Because later it gets all pussy, but then later it also I don't know. It's never really clear exactly what it does to you, besides just sometimes eat you, but also sometimes go inside your body?
I would assume that it's a sort of like outside digestive, because when other people go in the sand and they get stuck in the sand, they are digested to the point that like their limbs fall off and, you know, their skin melts.
It's almost like they're melting.
Right.
Yeah.
So when he gets stung, you know, by just a little bit, like it's still eating him away because he doesn't.
It's an acid. Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't clean himself off like a buffoon. You know, like he has.
Yeah.
He gets a bottle of water in this scene and doesn't clean himself like an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like it's almost supposed to, I think, be like a jellyfish type thing, right?
A little bit. Yeah.
Where it's just like absorbing, you know, it's just like trapping things. And well, I guess it's using the tendrils to also, what's the word I'm looking for? Like paralyze the people.
Yeah.
Because later on, he's like, I can't feel. Mitch is like, I can't feel my body. I can't feel my body. So it is paralyzing them, but it is also dissolving them, you know, so it's like digesting them too.
Yeah.
Anyway, it don't like bananas, I think. Did I miss something in that scene? Why doesn't it like the bananas? Does it not like the banana?
I think
just because it's not meat.
I think it might be because it's not meat. It also just might not like the outer skin. Like if you peel the banana, then it might be into the banana.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know all the things that this thing likes to eat. It likes hot dogs. It's okay with like dead processed meat. That's fine.
Yeah.
And it likes regular real meat. Doesn't like spicy food.
Doesn't like pepper spray. Doesn't like nanners.
Right. Doesn't care for, you know, wrapped up bananas. So we don't know, and we don't see any other fruit. So like this might just be like your standard like Wisconsin diet of just like meat and then processed meat.
Yeah. Very Midwestern, Lovecraftian underground monster.
But no spice. No spice. Do not season.
Again, very Midwestern. Don't like it a spice. Also, yeah, there's always these scenes where they're kind of acting like they're starving, and I'm like, I don't think you are. Like, why did like Jonah act like he was fucking starving when he ate the banana? It's like it couldn't have been 10 hours yet.
Right.
His stomach is bleeding, and you know he's starting to go wild and pus and stuff like that. Meanwhile, he's like acting like he's saved by a banana. Then he goes back to the table and they're like, you got to get back to the table. And it's like, where was he standing before? Was he standing where the fire was? Was that why it wasn't getting him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he jumped in the fire and I guess the ash somehow protected him. I don't know. That wasn't clear.
Yeah, there's just too many rules here that are irrelevant, right?
Yeah, they're all irrelevant.
But he finds a book bag.
They're all irrelevant because they never play into the ending of the film. You know, the perimeter doesn't play into the ending of the film. The fire in the ash don't play into the ending of the film. Bananas don't come back. So, and then with Jamie Kennedy's boots don't really, they like give them sort of an idea, but not like the best idea.
Yeah. They find some mixers, so he's like throwing them around everything, but like I don't know. They bust out of his stomach at some point, I guess. I don't know. So now we're over to what's her name? Old backseat Betty. What's her name? Ronnie. And she's gonna stand on the bumper and try to get to the trunk. And you know, they had just thrown Gilbert a bottle of water and he was so happy. Like he was just like, oh my God, like I'm saved, you know, I got sunscreen, I got water, I'm good. And then they look back to him and he's like, I'm dying. That's what I'm talking about. It just, there's so much inconsistency. He's bitching. Then they give him water and thing. And they literally show a scene where he's like, oh, like he's so relieved, you know? And then 5 seconds later, he's screaming about how he's dying.
Can't be chill for 5 seconds.
No, he is zero. The whole movie is just watching morons try to do like relatively easy, like solve relatively easy little puzzles. So it's like physical challenges from Double Dare, but for like intellectually challenged people.
Yeah, it's the Wipeout TV show but like with deadly consequences, you know?
Yeah, and much less athleticism required.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, like a cop comes pulling up in like an SUV and honks like right as Betty's trying to do her thing. So she falls, gets her finger smashed in the trunk, and there she sits. And then this is when I was like, Jesus Christ, it's Jamie Kennedy. Like, that's all we need right now. I didn't know he was in there. I wasn't looking forward to it, and and it just came out of nowhere, and just I was gobsmacked that he fucking showed up. And you can tell, God, my God, it's so annoying. They just let him riff.
Yep.
Like, you could just tell they just let him riff. And he's struggling because he is not by himself funny. He can act fine. You know what I mean? He can be that like overzealous, like nerdy guy. Like, he's not a bad actor, but he is not a comedian. He is not. Like, if you've ever seen him do stand up, it's painful.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously is not a good improviser either. They're just having him riff. And it's like the most cringy, not funny shit in the world. Like, the first thing he does when he comes up, first of all, he's all scruffy looking. You know, like,
yeah.
Why is that what the cop looks like? But he comes up and he's like, why is Fat Albert in the trash can? just
great reference in 2015.
So yeah. And he's like, he says to him, you got legs? Because he's like in the trash can. And then we find out pretty quickly because they're like, don't get out of your car. He gets out of the car and he's fine because he's got his big, cop boots on. And the solution, guys, is shoes. It was shoes the whole time.
Shoes beats all. How about that?
Yeah. Turns out shoes protect you from things that are on the ground. They're like, my God, it's his shoes. No shit, you fucking asshole. What if you were walking on fire ants? You know what would help? Shoes. So this goes on for so long. It's painful. He's not saying anything funny. He's saying stuff about like how the girls are hot and they're jerks. And he does this bit about them being on drugs for like a long time. It's not landing. He drops his keys and then starts getting his arm munched. And then this is when we learn that his pepper spray does actually kind of alleviate it wards off whatever's in the sand, at least for a moment of time. And then he pulls up and his arm's gone. And it's like Mortal Kombat levels of CGI blood. Like, it's so fucking bad looking.
Specifically Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the shitty movie.
Yeah. They get the pepper spray eventually. He's dead. And I was just like, thank sweet Satan that Jamie Kennedy is fucking off the screen. They do get the pepper spray. Again, it ends up being of very little consequence. I mean, at one point, I guess it saves one of their lives, but it's pretty unclear about its effectiveness. So the fucking dork, what's his name?
Mitch
decides he's going to make a run for it because he's got his feet all tied up with like towels and shit, with his flip flops and towels. And then he just falls off of a broken fucking railing and just gets munched immediately. And it's like, at first I was like, oh, this is kind of, at least, they tried to do something a little bit interesting with the way his body is like eaten.
Yeah.
But it still looks like dog shit, obviously.
Yeah, it looks bad. They were like trying to surprise you with it a little bit because like you're thinking, oh, Mitch is going to get to go off into the sun with Kaylee.
Mm-hmm.
And because, whatever, because it's obvious like he has feelings for her, but like, they didn't fuck. Mm-hmm. And he's also scared to take his shirt off outside. So like, you're like supposed to feel bad for him, but hope he gets the girl in the end or whatever. But then, oops, surprise, he fell off a railing and then dies.
Mm-hmm.
And then he dies.
Fine,
and then
cool.
that's it. And it's like,
it could be worse, whatever. I just got to the part in Street Trash, for those of you who know it well, is when the guy, the big the freaking big muscly brute guy beats the shit out of the one other guy, headbutts him, beats the shit out of him, picks him up, takes him into the bathroom, puts his head in the urinal, and then sticks his finger down his throat and pukes on him. Yeah, if you guys remember that. That's what I would like to do to this movie right now. That's what I'm imagining wanting to do to this movie. So Kaylee goes, she gets to the car. she punches the other. She's using the railings to get around now instead of the surfboards, whatever. She punches Shonda and she's like, and she's like, that's for fucking my boyfriend or whatever. And then from the fucking, back behind everybody from the fucking nosebleeds
from downtown,
Gilbert goes, Sean, did you just get punched in your face? He just yells it from behind everybody.
And that is my line. That's my favorite line. That's my favorite
funny.
Gilbert line. That's my favorite line overall.
Yeah.
Ronnie's got a lot of top second places, but yeah, just Shauna, did you just get punched in your face as he's stuck in a barrel and can't see what's going on? It's just like, what the fuck is this movie doing?
Yeah. Oh, it's so dumb. So now, and then she's like, oh, boyfriend who was just fucking the other girl. She's like, they say they love each other now. It's like, this is weird. They end up freeing up old Ronnie's hand. And then the whole thing, okay, the girls work together to get through all their boil troubles and then get over to where Joan is on the picnic table. Ronnie ends up falling. Shauna like pepper sprays the spot where she's about to fall, but then like, never mind, she gets eaten anyway. So it only like delays it for a second. It doesn't really make much sense. So now the movie's almost over. So, the worms start fucking up Gilbert's barrel, apparently like from the bottom. They start going up through the barrel eventually. And you see like blood dripping down, which I don't understand because I think they're coming up from underneath. Shonda gets to the cop cruiser with the towels on her feet, and then Gilbert's lower body gets eaten. And Gilbert, I will say, is going for it acting wise. Mm-hmm. He's screaming, hollering, going nuts. Good for him. He's by far the best performance here. But then these big tentacles, which we haven't really seen up to this point, like come and pull him down into the barrel, and he disappears into the barrel, and it looks like a fucking 1992 like Flash animation. And I'm just like, I really thought with all the buildup of Gilbert being stuck in the barrel that they were going to do something better, but obviously they did not.
No. They again, this is a first draft film, and like they started with an interesting idea of like, how do we trap people on the beach? Oh, we have a guy trapped in a barrel and he can't move. So maybe we'll get him, like we'll figure it out when we get there. Don't rush me. Hold on. Fuck, we're in the middle of production. Post. We'll do it in post. We'll put big tentacles in. It'll be something else.
Yeah.
Fuck. Fucked it up.
Yeah, they did. And they fucked it up.
Yeah.
So then like Shonda gets like knocked out for like 8 hours. It's weird. It's a weird jump. Like they're really trying to finish this movie. She gets bonked on the head with something. I don't remember what it is, but she gets knocked unconscious and lays there for at least 6 to 8 hours. It's nighttime now, but she wakes up and she is fine. I mean, completely fine, like back to normal, talking normally, all that stuff. So Kayla and Shonda are trying to save, the boy that they had previously been fighting over. And Joan is just like whining a lot, but I guess he's okay now, even though like it looked like something was coming out of his belly before. He's not great. He's just like groaning and whining a lot, but like he looks just about the same as he's been since, he got his little belly tickled. They get him up in the cruiser. And just as that happens, a giant, like bioluminescent tentacle comes up out of the sand, right? Like 30-foot tall, giant tentacle. And Kaylee ends up like spreading gas around the car. Either she's going to blow him up with the fucking dynamite or she's going to set him on fire with, some accelerant. That's what's going to happen. And she's like, burn you, motherfucker. And of course the thing goes up like kindling. So this is executed very, very easily. The crazy tentacles are like scrambling around for a while. So you're like, oh, maybe it's not dead yet, but it is. And then as soon as the tentacles are out of sight, they all just like are very chill and like just take a rest, like close their eyes. Like, you can't be that exhausted. You know what I mean? Like, this has only been a day. It's not like you've been up for 40 hours. But then they're like, well, somebody, you know, obviously they don't have the keys to the cruiser. So he's like, well, somebody will come maybe tomorrow. And they're like, yeah, maybe tomorrow. At least they have shade now. Obviously they're inside a vehicle as opposed to exposed. But there's this extended, like literally I jumped like 10 seconds at a time for several, like probably 8 times of the girls just crying in the car.
Yeah.
And then they fall asleep. They wake up in the morning and the surfer wakes them up, you know, like knocking on the window. Like he's got like a wetsuit on and stuff. And the whole thing is gone. And they just pop out of the car and he's in his barefoot. They're like, oh, it's gone. And then they just walk away. And I'm like, 2 things. One, how did they know the thing didn't move just 30 feet in one direction?
Right.
You know,
it didn't just go.
They're just like, oh, it's gone.
More.
Yeah. Or just literally up a stone's throw up, you know, back away from the water just to run away from them when they're gassed and shit.
Yeah.
But they're pretty confident. And then the girls just like walk away and Jonah is a corpse in the car and is literally never mentioned.
Yeah. The only acknowledgement it gets is from the beach, the beach bum,
the surfer,
in the surfer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause he looks in, he's like, hey buddy, hey, come on. And then he realizes, oh, that guy's dead. And you just get the shock on his face and then pull out to wide shot of the girls walking away. And then like the sand has been upended and depressed in a way.
Yeah.
So the animal has gone, but there's not a good track leading from that depression into the water, which is where we next see it.
No.
So it's like, it's a okay idea, but again, bad execution.
Well, and and I want to go back to the surfer because not only does he does acknowledge it, but he doesn't go like, oh my God, it's a corpse. He makes the same like surprised face as if you thought you had another pack of Pop-Tarts in the box, but then you reach in and the box is empty and you were like, oh.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of expression he makes.
Yeah.
It's not like oh God damn, I went out surfing and found a teenager's corpse in a car, you know. But anyway, that's the fucking movie.
Yeah. It's definitely a face of like mildly bummed and not the face of, hey girls, get back here. Did you kill this guy?
Yeah. Is this guy dead? Should I call 911?
Yeah. Hey, you two. Did you murder a man?
See you later. Have a good day, girls. As a viewer of this movie, I would say that I was consistently either frustrated, annoyed, or confused, or all 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't not confused in a good way either. In a like, oh, they did a bad job there, and I'm not supposed to be confused. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not a mystery confusion. It's a editing or directing problem level of confusion.
Yeah.
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 It's just a piece of dog shit. And I hated it. And I feel that our Patreon subscribers should feel ashamed of themselves. They should feel shame.
I mean, unless they did this on purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, they could.
Yeah. I'm hoping that that's the case. And then in that case, listen to me, you rat fucks. I'm going to get you back. And if you didn't and you genuinely like this movie, you should feel shame. But I am interested to hear people weighing in. I don't think anybody, I don't, whoever voted for it are not here with us in the Discord right now. Because they're not willing to show their goddamn cowardly faces here. But I would like to hear your rationale for why you picked this piece of shit.
Again, when I saw this when I was drunk, I can understand how I wouldn't hate this if I was drunk, because there's a good chance I was kind of like just browning in and out myself. So
you're browning in and out. Yeah.
When I watch it sober, though, this movie's just boring. Like, it's very, very fucking boring. Yeah. This is one of those movies that, like, I was finding myself saying, this should have been an email. Like, this, like, it should have been shorter. This is like a 30-minute TV show of
this should have been like a vignette in an anthology. This is a way shittier version of The Raft.
Yep.
But from Creepshow 2, but on the beach.
Yeah. It's a shittier version of The Raft.
Or Tremors, or yeah.
Yeah, well, Tremors actually figures out how to make it a better film because they move more than just one location. They have growing threat,
and the people are resourceful. And the Tremors rules, but you could tell it drew some inspiration from it and just was poorly executed.
Yep. It just does not it doesn't work when you're sober. I can get this movie if you're just fucking blasted. If you have intentionally damaged your brain as badly as the characters have it in this film, I can understand why it has an appeal. Otherwise, no.
Yeah.
Pass.
Just go watch Street Trash. I'm watching Street Trash right now. It rules. This guy's exploding. He just got kicked in the stomach. Just watch Street Trash. It's fucking great.
Street Trash is such a non-movie movie. I was this has come up recently in my week because I watched a movie with I watched a Sammo Hung movie that has like Jackie Chan in it, called Winners and Sinners, and then the movie fucking rules, but it is just a series of fucking skits put together and then like a loose movie for 40 minutes. And so Street Trash is the same thing. It's just like a bunch of skits and then there's a loose movie of 40 minutes in there.
Yeah. And like at the end here, it's like, I'm watching the best. Well, there's several melts, but this is whatever the guy's name is, Wizzy or whatever at the end is finally melting. It's not quite the end. Yeah. And every character is completely like irreprehensible piece of shit.
Yeah. Everyone's garbage. I'm excited for the remake that's coming.
I keep hearing it. I haven't saw any update on production. Is it happening still?
I feel like production has already happened. They might be editing it now. Because I think, I feel like it's supposed to come out like either at the end of this year or sometime next year. But no.
Yeah, I hope so. Because this movie is honestly, it's one of my favorite just wacky ass like movies to throw on, when you're just not really looking to pay attention to something. Or if you have friends over, I've shown this movie to so many people. It's like Pieces, Street Trash, Brain Damage, any Frank Henenlotter film, I'll put on. And this is just one of my favorites because people are just like, how is this a movie? I just hope it doesn't go the way of, what happened obviously with the Toxic Avenger remake, which was a much bigger production, big stars associated with it and stuff like that. But
so
the fact that right now it's like in jeopardy of being released at all.
So that won't happen with Street Trash remake because they were already committed to Screambox and Vinegar Syndrome. Like those are the production companies behind it, and like assumingly distributors. So one way or another, that film's either going to come out on Screambox or through Vinegar Syndrome, probably both.
Yeah, I mean it's such much it's definitely a couple layers down of the cult movie iceberg, if you will, compared to Toxic Avenger. Anyway, all right, let's get into my flicky. We're going to talk about Dead and Buried from 1981. We won't. Let's talk a little bit about the cast. Kind of an interesting cast here. Some recognizable faces for sure. The first one of which, that if there's probably few movies I've ever watched more than a movie featuring this gentleman. Playing the character of Dobbs is Jack Albertson, which if you are anything like me, you know him as one thing and one thing only, and that is that freeloading rat fuck, Grandpa Joe from the Willy Wonka, the original film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, starring the great Gene Wilder. He is a little bit older in this movie. Really skinny, looks a lot older, but plays such a weird fucking character, and I absolutely love it. our main protagonist is James Ferrantino, he's immediately recognizable from a million things. The Final Countdown. He was on Dynasty for a little while. Bulletproof. One episode as a voice in Ah Real Monsters. That's kind of fun. I did not expect to see that one there. Not a huge genre actor. More of a cop drama guy. Yeah. Oh, Blue Thunder. Remember that show? Tons of cop dramas. Yeah, I really thought. I mean, he goes back to like the early 60s.
Yeah.
His career. So
I mean, he's on 2 episodes of the Alfred Hitchcock Hour. So like, yeah, he's.
Oh, there you go.
He touches genre work, but just, you know, like you said, most of the time he's just playing some sort of cop.
Yeah, and he's got a really, really memorable, one of those like characterful kind of, and I mean that, and I don't mean like he's an ugly guy. He has this very like characterful, hard-boiled detective looking face. I'll say. So definitely the 2 most memorable people there. As far as the main characters, we do get a reasonable amount of screen time for one Mr. Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger himself, playing Harry, who not really sure what Harry does in this town. He's kind of a de facto cop because he's friends with the only cop, but I really don't know exactly what he has a wrecking truck. Like, he's just the all-purpose dude around town to help with shit. And then genre fans will definitely know Lisa Blunt, who we know as Catherine from Prince of Darkness for sure. Yeah. What else? She's in a couple of other genre films as well, but that was the thing that I absolutely recognized her from right off the bat. Oh, Needful Things. Ooh, a TV movie from 1983 called Murder Me, Murder You. Never saw it. Sounds awesome.
She's in Slapshot.
She is in Slapshot. She plays something a very small. I don't remember him. I was like, oh, she's one of the like. No, she plays. No,
she's just like a band booster. For the most part. But she's in it.
Yeah, she's in Slapshot. Hey, it's a good claim to fame. People have went and signed autographs at festivals and cons for doing a lot less than being in Slapshot. So I'll take it. You do you, Lisa. All right, those are the main. Anybody else in the cast that you're eager to talk about?
No, not.
Some other recognizable faces, but nobody's that's like a big, genre star that it felt like warranted a big discussion.
No, I think the main thing about like this movie is everybody kind of like goes back to the like 60s, 70s and 60s. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like the majority of this cast is like really mature is what it is. Because you're making a film about like a sleepy fucking New England town. So, yeah.
A lot of characters that play rednecks, a lot of characters that play cowboys. Barry Corbin, for example, like again, character guy that plays. He was in an episode of Yellowstone, like, and he's been in everything he's ever been in is freaking westerns mostly, right? Bill Quinn, another character actor that you'll see a lot of. Dennis Redfield, for sure, you see him in a lot of stuff. Anyway, so a lot of character actors pop up, and then really the star of the show here is Jack Albertson in terms of star power. I'll say he's very much at the towards the end of his career. Anyway, so this movie is fucking kooky, and that's what I love about it. It feels a little bit like, it reminds me, and let's see if this resonates with you. It reminds me if the best qualities of some of like James Wan's better work, like I'm mainly thinking of the fucking one with the head. I'm going to spoil it, but with the face on the back of the head.
Malignant?
What the hell is it? Malignant. Some Malignant type vibes, but if it was written by Stephen King. Because it's in this like sleepy New England town, right? A little bit.
Yeah, I definitely got like Stephen King and Lovecraft vibes from it, but I don't completely love this whole film. it has like a lot of great parts. It has a lot of great bits, a lot of great set pieces. But something about the whole thing doesn't gel with me completely.
Yeah, it's not a masterpiece. I won't sit here and try to... I'm not going to sit here and front and pretend that's a masterpiece. I think I mostly like it for some of the things you just mentioned, but I also really like the main protagonist, right? Dan. And I also really like Dobbs.
Yeah.
And I also love the Stephen King and honestly a little bit Twin Peaksy feel of the town too, because some of the characters are very quirky around town, right? Like the motel owner and like the receptionist at the police station are very, very quirky characters. They're not as kind of like salt of the earth as a lot of Stephen King stories are, but it does feel like a setting for a Stephen King story. Less Stephen King like characters, more Stephen King setting, I guess.
The best parts of this film are the Dan and Dobbs kind of cat and mouse. And you know, the everybody else in the town does have that Twin Peaks weirdness. And I like that they have like an explanation as to why everybody's so fucking weird at the end. Like that's a cool thing. It's just like, there's a lot of filler and one scene in specific that I'm just like, oh my God, fucking move it along already. Like when they confront that family and then nothing happens with it, I'm just like, ugh, what a waste of my fucking time that was.
Yeah. There's a couple scenes like that drag out a little bit longer that you're like, we could have had half of this and it would have been just as impactful. So I love this like very dire like intro and title card. And then, you know, things do get pretty wacky later on, which I like. It feels almost like this weird, like, you know, Judy Blume adaptation or something, you know, with this like melodramatic piano track and like this hazy, you know, windswept beach. But this starts fast. Most movies that I like, you know, genre films I like, it really starts fast. You get this creep. He's dressed up like a creep, as you might imagine, with a fucking, you know, sweater and a goddamn turtleneck underneath. And he shows up in his VW bus to the beach, and he's got all his photography equipment. And he's just taking pictures of like rope and shit until this babe shows up, right? And she's got her big old knocker. She starts flirting and stuff. And he says he's, you know, I'm a photographer. And one thing leads to another. And they start to do this little impromptu photo shoot. She's like, hey, can I be a model? And then she just pops her tits out. And says like, let's bang. And he's like, hell yeah, brother. And as he goes up to like, hey, come on, she's like, come on over here. You know, he gets up and just all of a sudden just starts. And this intro scene, like it's, I think it's a good length. It doesn't drag, but there's a good setup, right? This goes on for a good, 5 minutes. And then out of nowhere, he just starts getting his ass beat by this bunch of old like fisherman types. And it's pretty brutal. They are just whooping his ass with a shovel and a crowbar and wrapped him up in against a post with a fishing net. And all of a sudden, just all these like pretty normal looking, like Mainer looking folks, men, women, old, young, they're just standing around. And then this normal looking lady just comes up. One of them pours gas on him. She just sets his ass on fire. And like 12 locals are just standing there taking pictures and just like very matter of factly just watching him, burn at the stake. And right before they burn him alive, they're like, welcome to Potter's Bluff, which is, of course, the town that they live in. And you're just like, holy shit, that like you just don't expect it. Right. This is a movie also that has a really bland, shitty title that tells you nothing, but also doesn't remind you of anything. So like it just doesn't give you any hints to anything. So, you don't know what to expect. And then when that happens, you're like, oh, holy fuck, Yeah,
it's like naming something The Dead Shift. And like, that doesn't fucking mean anything. Like you don't know, like, something bad is going to happen, but you don't know the contents therein of like what the bad is, what the evil is, what's driving the evil. You don't know any of that. So yeah, it's a generic title, but at least it opens the door for surprise, which I think there is a lot of in this.
Yeah, it does. And that's why I like it, because you don't know what to expect. It kind of comes out of nowhere and it gets a little wacky. Oh my God. Motherfucking Tubi. Street Trash just ended and it decided it's going to put on The Fate of the Furious next.
Gotcha.
And I need to stop to ensure that doesn't happen.
Gotcha.
And I hold you responsible for that, you motherfucker.
Yeah,
you.
I did that. I sent brain signals to Tubi.
No, you made me watch all those fucking movies. What's wrong with you?
Get Brian.
I'm going to put on Big Money Hustlers now. Just again, I need to teach Tubi a lesson. All right, so we cut to this accident scene, and there's a body, obviously to take care of. And you got Danny, who's the cop. This is James Ferrantino. And then you got Harry, which is Robert Englund. And then they're talking about, what the hell happened here? Yada, yada, yada. They're like, where the hell's Dobbs? Dobbs is the coroner / undertaker in this tiny little town. That's Jack Albertson. That's Grandpa Joe. And they go in there and they're looking at him. He's all burned up and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden they poke him and he starts screaming. The guy is still alive. He's like barely more than a skeleton, but he's still alive in the car when they try to reach him for the body, and he screams like a fucking banshee. And you're just like, Jesus Christ. Like, this movie's just, again, it's off and running. Then, you cut to Dan and the local boys, including, Robert Englund and the rest of them. They're hanging around at the local diner and they're discussing the accident, the murder. And you get the idea that Dan's this, kind of almost like big city cop coming back to his hometown to, lay down the law or whatever. And Dan's like, hey, can I get a cup of coffee to whatever the waitress's name is? They obviously know each other. And he says it a couple times. You don't really think much of it. And then she comes over and she's like, here, do you want cream, Dan, or whatever? And they scroll up to it and bum, dum, dum. It's the girl who set him on fire, set the creepy guy on fire. So again, the pace on this is great for most of it. I know that it does drag in a couple spots, but this is like, man, there's just a lot going on in the first 10, 15 minutes of this movie. We now cut to this drunken sailor. He's stumbling around on the docks. He's a full-on fucking cartoon character. Yep. Like he could be in Street Trash. He's just like, I'm a fucking man. I've been on the water all my life. He's like singing sea shanties and shit.
His fucking hat should have been opened at the top like a can of beans.
Yeah, just flapping over. And then he just plops down, starts slugging on some booze or whatever. And all of a sudden, the wall he's leaning against, double meat hooks pop out from behind it and pin him to the wall through his shoulders. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of, the locals, just as before, pop out of nowhere. One of them's got this big blade thing, starts slashing at him, slashes his face, slashes his throat. Pretty brutal. And then all of a sudden, somebody just kills him by just fucking launching a harpoon right through his heart. And you're just like, goddamn, things are they're pretty brutal, pretty violent in the way they dispatch people. And they're all coming out of the woodwork. They're taking pictures and stuff just as before. Grandpa Joe, we showed him earlier when he pulled up to the accident scene before. He's got this thing for the old 30s jazz music, which 1981, that would have been that's way before, obviously Fallout and some of these other movies that have made that type of, slow 30s jazz, creep, almost stereotypical and creepy movies nowadays, but obviously 1981, that would have been way before this.
At this point, it's just legitimately believable that he's into that because he's old, and it's and there wasn't much music beyond there still wasn't MTV at this time. So there wasn't a
right. He was in his 20s. Yeah. He was in his 20s when this music was big. Right. So, or even his teens. So this is the music he grew up with. But he's always romancing the corpses. He's he's kind of talking to him about, how beautiful they are. And he's they are his masterpieces. And he's very, very serious about all of his, his ability to make people who, don't look like their normal selves or they're as attractive, or aesthetically pleasing to look at as they normally would be, because they're dead, or specifically how they died. He's able to, work magic with his, he's an artist. He's the best in the business at prepping bodies and making them look good for burial. And he's all of, hey, I create memories and all that stuff.
Yeah. This kind of early third of the film, like he has big Quincy vibes. I don't know if you remember the TV show Quincy, but everybody who's under 50, it was a TV show about a guy who was a medical examiner and then would go out into the world and do detective work to solve the murders of the bodies, despite not actually being a cop. He injected himself and so he has this kind of Quincy energy of he's just a funeral home director, but somehow he has injected himself into everything that goes on in this town. And he has a big, hearse with the lights on it. The hearse doesn't need lights on it. That's not for you. What are you doing?
No. Well, he is the county coroner as well. So he's there at murder scenes and that sort of thing. But also there's just one cop. So he's an expert in his field. So he is consulted more than you would expect. Yeah, a funeral director / coroner to be in this type of thing. But
yeah,
he's also just really genuinely creepy with and eccentric, I will say, overall. One of the kids who we saw taking pictures with the group murdering people is Grandpa Joe's assistant. Of course, we know that as the audience, but you expect nobody else knows that. He ends up bringing Dan in, who's coming in to see Grandpa Joe, and there's this little. He's like I said, he's an eccentric character. He narcs on his assistant for having weed, but he's more just busting his balls. But of course, he's pissing himself because he thinks the cop's going to arrest him for having weed, because I guess he picked him up for having a joint one other time. Anyway, he's just this eccentric, silly, kind of old, weird grandpa-ish type. He gets in this big long diatribe about, the art of being an undertaker. Dan knows that Duder in the car, the photographer, was likely burned somewhere else. He's got this hunch. And Dan gets a call that they found the drunk sailor at the boatyard. That's clearly a murder. So now he's like, oh, the other one must have been a murder too. I already had this hunch. He goes to question this innkeeper to see if they're trying to find the identity of the original guy. And he goes up to the missing guest room. It's the photographer's stuff, so we know it's the same person. The innkeeper, his name's Ben, says that Janet, which is Dan's wife, stopped to meet with the photographer yesterday, which is very interesting. And there's this little awkward scene. The innkeeper guy, I love. He's such a weird, eccentric character. And I wish there would have been more of him on screen, but
which is definitely playing into the Lovecraft vibes of you go to a weird inn in New England and you're going to find a guy like this who's just what are you looking for? I saw that your wife was here, wasn't she? She was here nights past.
You should ask your wife, So Dan does that. He goes home. He asks Janet, and she says she was, buying photography equipment for the school because she's a teacher, and from him, and that's how she knows him. And his name is George. FYI, Dan is 75 years older than Dan. It's a little Bill Belichick-y. Let's put it that way. Dan asks the principal of the school, so Janet's boss, and he denies this whole equipment story. So he's starting to get little sus on Janet. They cut back to the hotel room, and George, who was the burnt guy, is not hotel room. I'm sorry, hospital room. And George, the burnt guy, he's in full bandages in the burn ward, and you can only see his teeth because he has no lips. And you can see one eye, out, and the rest is just bandages. Dan comes to talk to the doc and asks if he can talk to George because he wants to figure out, does he have a family, he can contact, and also who did this to you, obviously, right? And the doc is pushing back. So you're kind of suspecting the doc a little bit here. While they're talking, the nurse walks in, and it's the booby girl from the beach.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs.
And you're like, dun, 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 and she stabs him right through the damn eye with a big hypodermic needle, and of course kills him, and then just walks out undetected because there's only 4 people live in this fucking town.
Right.
So, the Doc and Dan, they walk in and see this, and of course, no clue, no leads, no nothing. They're just like, somebody magically stuck a fucking needle in his eye. Grandpa Joe and Dan have this big argument which is a really funny scene at the burial, because Grandpa Joe wants to like do his magic on him, and make him look good again. But Dan, couldn't find or identify, the family in time. So there's like this weird, bizarre rivalry where he takes kind of almost personal affront to the fact that there was a closed casket funeral in his town. Grandpa Joe does. It's very strange. They get into like a heated argument. He's like, "Get off my fucking back, Dobbs!" Yeah. It's like, it's wild.
This is the first time that like you start to have some sort of sus feelings for Grandpa Joe, because he's been eccentric and he's like kind of inserted himself into the world before this. Mm-hmm. But now that he's coming up running his mouth at the cop and is like, "You didn't do your job good enough." Like, if you could not imagine saying that to a cop, like at any time. I was just like, "You didn't do your job good enough. Just shut the fuck up or I'm going to kill you." It's what most cops will say.
Well, and also, and then also the other funny thing is that like his rationale was not because of his compassion for the victim. It was more for his like ego.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he wanted to fix the body up.
Yeah.
And because that's what he does.
And it's also not because like he didn't solve the murders yet. He doesn't care if the crimes are solved. He just cares.
No, he only cares if he gets the ability to fix them up.
Touch their faces and be weird with them. That's all he cares about. And at that point, you would just shut the fuck up, dude. Get back in your car or I'm going to go arrest you for something.
Yeah, you're giving me a whole series of strange vibes. Again, Janet's being sus. Everyone's kind of being a little suspect right now. So she gives Dan this roll of film to drop off over at Ernie's. Who is Ernie, you suspect? He's, I don't know, fucking local guy in town. He's the guy at the drugstore who develops film, sends it off to get developed. She says it's a class project for her class that she teaches. And I wrote I don't know who the fuck Ernie is. And you don't at that point, but that's who it is. The family. So, this is probably what you were referring to. I think this family that just stumbles into town looking for directions. Yeah. It goes on way too long.
Too fucking long.
I agree 100%. First they go into this cafe and there's all these creepers in there and you immediately see that it's all the same creepers that are murdering people. So you're like, oh no. But they just give them directions and all is well. And then they say, hey, we need gas. So is there a gas station nearby? And the creepy murdering fire waitress says, oh, yeah. Hey, Freddie. Now, I didn't mention this, but Boobies McGee at the beginning said that George looked like a Freddie when she was trying to guess his name. Mm. So now the waitress is like, hey, Freddie, help these people out. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll follow you down to the gas station. It's closed, but I'll open it back up. He's like the gas station attendant. Turns around. It's fucking George. It's the guy who got melted from the original scene, the photographer, who is now oh Jesus Christ, I forgot that. I'm sorry, this is complete, but I forgot that Graves era misfits are in this fucking movie. God damn it. I just looked up and I see fucking Graves and Jerry Only and fucking the whole fucking crew in here, along with Shaggy 2 Dope and whatever the fucking other guy from not How High, Half Baked. What's his name? He's still around.
From Half Baked?
Yeah, he's like the guy who talks to the horse Remember, feeds the horse something and it kills it in half.
Oh, Harlan Williams.
Harlan Williams, yeah. I want to say Marlon Wayans. It's not accurate. Harlan.
I mean,
the name sounds similar.
Fits though. Yeah.
I just forgot.
I don't know, Brian. I don't know, Brian, because I've never sat down and watched any of the ICP movies.
I put it on to Punish Tubi, and I have seen this before. But then I looked up and I saw Doyle, and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, I forgot about this. So anyway, it's George, dun dun dun, and the he looks perfectly normal, right? He's wearing a gas station attendant's uniform. He's just sitting there having a cup of coffee, and he's going to go help him out. So they're driving down this foggy road. Something flashes in front of the car. Looks like a sheet or something. The dad just swerves their big ass Oldsmobile or whatever it is off the road, smashes into a telephone pole, and they're all just kind of nonplussed about the whole thing. They're just like, oh no, is everybody okay? We crash into a pole, and the kid's like, ow, my head. The kid has like straight up CTE, and the parents are just kind of bickering. They're like, come on, let me look at your head. They're like annoyed, like this happens 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And then the
concussions didn't exist in 1980.
Yeah, of course he was in the back seat, and he had no seatbelt on. He ended up getting like launched into the front seat, and they're just acting like this is super normal. They go to this nearby house because the mom says she saw a light. The dad is annoyed, and of course the kid's concussed. So they just walk up to a stranger's house, open the front door. It's totally dark. It looks like a goddamn haunted house. There's just cobwebs everywhere. It's obviously empty, but the wife keeps insisting she saw this light. This scene goes on for a long time. The mom is psychotic. She sends her husband to the basement to see if the people who live there are checking a fuse. And it's like, this place is abandoned. Look at it. It's like there are cobwebs on every surface. Literally everything's covered in dust. He does.
It's full of broken windows.
Yeah.
Like any house that has just broken windows is like, oh yeah, that's not in repair at all. Don't go there. It's probably condemned and full of raccoons.
Yeah, but she keeps insisting she saw a light, and even if she did, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? He does go into the basement, and with a match, and you think he's going to get got in the basement, but then he doesn't. Shaggy 2-Dope just DDT'd a gorilla in a donut shop while the Misfits watched.
Great.
This movie's so fucking.
You're not selling me on this movie.
Yeah, no. What? Shaggy 2-Dope dressed like a 70s street pimp just straight up DDT'd a man in a Hawaiian shirt gorilla costume while the Misfits watched. What the fuck?
I don't engage in juggalitic activities, Brian.
All right, fine. So he comes upstairs and you're like, oh, I guess they're safe. No. Welcome to Potter's Bluff. The house is immediately swarmed by 50 crazy locals, are in the house within the snap of a finger. They end up going up to the second floor. They climb out the window. They keep getting chased, and the cameras and the bright lights. So they're all disoriented. They get into the car, but, surprise, surprise, it won't start. And then there's a woman in the back seat, and she grabs the kid. The mom fights her off and grabs her hair, and a big chunk of her hair comes off, and it looks like it's sewed on. So now you're like, oh, something's going on here. You kind of can start to put the pieces together, I'm sure. The car does start and they speed away, and there's a crazy old lady hanging on the windshield, like fucking, Billy Madison style or Happy Gilmore style.
Yeah.
Eventually gets thrown off.
Mista.
Mista, yeah. They cut to Dan driving, foggy roads, and he just clocks some rando in the fog that's running across the street. He gets out, and the reanimated arm is still in the grill of his car. His SUV kind of, it's like a Jeep, like a Bronco.
Mm-hmm.
And a body pops up and fucking judo chops him in the neck and then runs into the woods.
After grabbing its arm, it takes its arm with it.
Yeah. Right. and Dan like goes after it but can't find it. And that scene honestly went on too long. Dan walking around looking for it and then just giving up. It ended nowhere. I was kind of annoyed by that.
Wandering around a bunch of backyards and busted out boathouses, and then like you get the jump scare of a chicken. So it's not a cat, it's a chicken, but it's still just like
it's a chicken.
The jump scare doesn't lead to anything, so it's just kind of like, who cares?
Yeah, it was an annoying sequence. It felt like a filler.
The other thing I just want to say, like, about these past two scenes is, so the entire film is really, really fucking foggy, and it works to add a lot of atmosphere a lot of the time. And maybe this is just like the transfer to Tubi. That's online that you can watch. It's just the transfer, and maybe this film needs like a remaster or something. But some of these fucking scenes are so muddy, and just like the contrast is bad. There's not enough highlights in some scenes, and you just cannot tell what the fuck is even going on. So it makes these long scenes where essentially nothing happens anyway even longer, because you don't even know what you're looking at.
Yeah, there's definitely moments of that. I mean, I tend to think that it's kind of charming, but I get what you're saying. It feels like you're watching a somewhat degraded VHS tape, but you're streaming it. So I do think it's a bad cut probably to Tubi. But yeah, it's definitely a little grainy. The lighting, the transfer is just not great.
Yeah, it just probably needs to maybe get like a remaster.
Well, the audio wasn't great either, so I think it was just the transfer was kind of rough.
Yeah, the audio is like it's a little uneven, and like it feels like it blows out at some points. But like I do like a lot of the aesthetic. Like that opening scene is fucking amazing. Like that's a great aesthetic because it feels like, even though it's outside, it's still like that gloomy, just like up against the rocks of New England kind of outside. And that's great. Yeah. It's just like when these dark scenes, they're just not lit well enough, or if you can remaster it in some way where, you do a little fiddling with the contrast and a little fiddling with the color, you bring some highlights up, maybe you can see more. But yeah, that's all.
Do a little beep boop, you do a little bing bonk, and all of a sudden you got a nicer transfer. Yeah, beggars can't be choosers. This is free on the Tubies.
Right. Yeah. To be fair,
honestly, I feel like
this is a movie that to be fair, this is a movie that cost $5 million to make and only made like 200,000 in the box office. So it's hard to like justify any kind of clamoring for a blowout new feature, but it might exist. Yeah,
I mean, this is an underrated movie, honestly. No one talks about it, and I think it's pretty solid. Is it fantastic? No, but there are a lot worse movies that get a lot more talk value, in terms of like 70s and 80s horror than this.
Yeah. There is a 4K Blu-ray out there. I just can't speak to the quality of it. That's all.
I would be kind of interested in that, actually. So Dan does go back home and finds a book on witchcraft and a ceremonial dagger. As one does, just going looking through the cabinets. And Janet's like, they're for school, and he's like, oh, okay. They're not. Dan finally drops off the film to Ernie. He had forgotten before, and then there is a Grandpa George in Willy Wonka, but Grandpa Joe tells him, hey, you might be right about that burned guy. Harry finds the family's car from earlier, in the ocean. Dan takes this like car to the lab, or takes the evidence to the lab. Again, this stuff probably didn't need to happen. And then the hotel guy shows up and says, hey, dead photographer George is pumping gas down at the station. And he's really adamant. He's kind of flipping out. And Dan's like, you're an idiot. Shut up. Dan goes over to question, Janet, or just talk to Janet, and she's teaching her kids about dang old zombies and black magic for some reason, which seems a little sketched. She also just assaults some of the kids. I don't know, by trying to scare them, but like it's pretty intense. Obviously, Dan's kind of getting a little freaked out, as anyone would. He takes her to the gas station, and she doesn't recognize, quote unquote, Freddy. So now he's a little bit more he's even more confused. There's another Potter, welcome to Potter's Bluff session here where they just brain a like young girl hitchhiking, just smash her head in with a rock. So all these murders are happening in Potter's Bluff, which is this quiet little sleepy town. So Dan is losing his shit. Extended scene with pretty cool effects of Grandpa Joe like romancing and rebuilding the girl's head that was crushed. First you get this like, and doing it from memory, assumedly, right? So you get him like stripping basically her skull down. First you see her like bashed in head, which is like pretty graphic, pretty creepy, and then like stripping it down to like a skull and then building it all up with like clay and like, mortuary wax or whatever the hell it is. And then popping fake eyes in the sockets. It's pretty yucky. And then he like gives her a little smooch and says some cryptic shit about, now my masterpiece can sleep peacefully or whatever. And you're like, yeah, sure thing, pal. But then someone like pops up and like walks into the room and you don't really see who it is and like revives her somehow. And I don't really know what happened. And I don't know that you ever really know what happened, but like someone walks in and just like looks over top of her. And then all of a sudden she is reanimated.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think, and I mean, yeah, I'm with you that we never really know what, the device is that brings people back. But I think we're supposed to put together that this is Janet that comes in and revives her and does whatever she does.
Does the black, like whatever the black magic is. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever the black magic is, whatever it is, because it's never really laid out. We don't see a full ceremony and even Grandpa Joe at the end says, I'll never tell. I'm taking it to my grave.
It's my secret recipe. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to point out, you said Grandpa Joe builds her head back from memory, and he doesn't. It's very specific. Oh. It's very specific in the way that all these people are killed, that when they're killed, that's why. Oh,
that's the pictures, of course.
Yeah, that's why there's always somebody taking pictures of them before and after they're killed, so he can build their heads back. What I don't understand is why he needs their heads smashed in the first place. I think it's just for love of the game.
No, they do explain that. Yeah, I forgot, of course, the pictures. That makes perfect sense. But they do, because whenever Dan first finds the witchcraft book, he reads through a page that is that's marked, and he kind of mumbles what it is. And the only reason I know is because I had the closed captions on, and he mentions it, and I think it gets mentioned one other time if I recall, but he definitely mentions it here, something along the lines of the person has to die to reanimate a corpse. There's certain things that need to happen, and one of them is they need to die a violent death or a vicious death. I forget how it's worded. Okay, and then they have to take their heart out.
See, I caught the thing about the heart. I guess maybe I wasn't really thinking about the vicious death, but like, yeah, maybe, yeah, I don't know. Just strangle them. I don't know why you have to fucking smash their heads all the time and burn them and just strangle people. Well, it's gross.
Well, it's love of the. I think it's love of the game too. I think it's love of the game. He wants a challenge.
Right. He just likes doing it, and because that's the other thing is I don't know why he's doing it. Why he's bringing people back at all. Why can't he just have one zombie lady who does the kills for him, and then he gets the rebuild heads? I don't know why he has to have a whole zombie army.
Well, now I think he's been so into it for so long, and he's like, this is his passion, this is his thing, and also he doesn't just like physically rebuilding them. He likes rebuilding their memory too, because he talks about they only have memories that I give them. And also he's mad with power. He's obviously mad with power. He's got a huge ego. So I think he likes having his little minions and running the show too.
This is definitely just some racist, not in my backyard mentality of like, I'm just going to engineer all the people who can live in my town.
Pretty much. Yeah. I get to pick it and I get to know which ones they are. And then they're going to live forever too. And I get to also like make them fall in love with certain people and engineer all this stuff.
And big surprise, it's New England and everybody's white.
Yeah, every single person. All right, so we're kind of spiraling towards the end here, but Doc says the skin sample from Dan's truck's been dead for 4 months, and he's like, that's impossible. But of course, we all know exactly why it's possible. And then in one of the wackier scenes, Harry and the nurse go and kill the doctor. And again, I think they're really intentionally trying to fuck up his face to give Grandpa Joe a challenge, because they stick these little hoses up his nose and pump acid up his nose.
Yeah.
So then they do all these like little bladder effects on his face, and his like face like basically melts from the inside out. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, it is.
So then Grandpa Joe comes to tell Dan that, the girl's body that got her head smashed in was stolen. And then Janet comes to ask him about witchcraft, which seems weird. And then we get back to that in a second. But apparently some people in St. Louis want the photographer's body to be transported there. So he goes back to catch up with old Grandpa Joe, and his assistant is using some like the mortician's like paint on himself, like on his arm, and runs out. Anyway, Dan goes and tells the gravedigger to dig up George, because they gotta send him away, and he's real hesitant to do that, obviously without Grandpa Joe's consent. And he's like, I'm the fucking law here, you do it, you rat fuck.
Yeah, right.
And meanwhile, Grandpa Joe, we see he was like hiding in like the cooler, like where you would keep the corpses. He just like, which was a kind of a creepy, slow developing scene. And it's a one shot, like it's framed. It's just a one shot where he comes in looking for him, doesn't find him, walks out. And then all of a sudden you see the drawer in the like body depository thing start sliding out. And then he just sits up, and you're like, is that him? And you're like, yeah, of course. It's the only like skinny little old guy in the movie. But, yeah, it's a fucking weird scene. They dig up George's coffin, open it up. Surprise, surprise, he's not in there. It's just his heart wrapped in his clothes. So you get a big old, it looks like it was a fucking cow heart they used, because it's about 5 times the size of a human heart.
It's huge.
But yeah. So just like Janet said, they got to take the heart out and all that. So Dan's going to check up on Grandpa Joe, and he goes and gets his film from Ernie, who we start to see has like a fucking dead hand he's hiding behind him. So everybody's starting to like look like they're deteriorating or like decomposing a little bit. And then then the doc that got the acid in the nose like shows up, and he's okay again. So shit's all mixed up. We're starting to figure out exactly what's happening, but we kind of know what's happening, but not exactly yet. Dan learns that Grandpa Joe was like given the old heave-ho from, I guess, like a medical examiner job or something back in Rhode Island, maybe somewhere. Who knows? For fucking with the bodies, doing something not cool. Dan goes home and watches this tape that was the film that his wife told him to go get developed, that he said was a job, a project for the school kids. He puts it on the old reel-to-reel, and it is this weird thing with all the people in the town, and of course, Dobbs, Grandpa Joe, and they're all standing around watching like 2 people fucking in a bed. It's all black and white reel-to-reel tape, reel-to-reel film. And then all of a sudden, the woman's underneath the guy, and she stabs him in the back with a dagger, ceremonial dagger, kind of like the one he found. And then they roll the corpse off the top, the dead guy off the top and it's Janet, who did the killing. And he's like, Dobbs! And at this point, from here on out, dude, Dan is just, he's acting his balls off. I love it.
Yeah. His behavior rules so fucking hard. And this next scene where he confronts Dobbs, and Dobbs has Dobbs is just losing it or whatever. Maybe he's fucking gooning in his goon cave because he has all of these reel-to-reel videos or films playing
everywhere.
Yeah, he's just projecting on every wall of his office, so I can only assume he's just in there jacking off at some point. But he's doing weird ass or whatever the equivalent 80-year-old guys do of jack off, just like slap their flaccid dick around. I don't know. I guarantee it involves stuff going up his butt, so it just has to. Like he has to.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
He can't get hard to whack it off, but he can stick something up his butt and get himself off that way. But
yeah, maybe.
Anyway, he's up to that. And this is so much like the George C. Scott movie Hardcore, where I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No, okay. I have not.
Quick breakdown of the film. George C. Scott is like his daughter goes missing, and he finds that his daughter has turned to. I know the
scene.
Okay, you know the scene then. His daughter turns to
I know the scene. I don't think I've seen the movie.
Okay. Yeah. But his daughter turns to pornography, and he's just in this grimy jack off theater, and he's watching his daughter's porno film, and he's just sitting there and he's like, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. Yeah. It's just like he's losing his mind. Dan is doing that.
I've and he does it even more. Yeah, he does it for honestly the last 20% of the movie. It's great.
Yeah. But Dan is doing that. He sees this film and he's just like, and just like it's great though because it has that Lovecraftian cosmic madness. He's been shown something that he should not be seeing.
Yes, he's absolutely his brain can't handle it. It's melting in his head, but also it's simultaneously that old mid-century and previous type of thing where men didn't show emotion. So when it happened involuntarily because their brain broke, it comes out in a weird, unnatural way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just a noise he never made before because he didn't know what noise to make. His body just went with it.
It's involuntary. Exactly. So he goes in and like I said, Grandpa Joe is waiting for him, has all his fucking many reel-to-reels queued up and shows him all this. And they're like, what the fuck? And he explains that Janet, was already dead when Dan met her. Janet was his first child, his first masterpiece. And Dan threatens to shoot Grandpa Joe. But he also kind of wants to be killed. And you're like, why does he want to be killed? He's like, make it full circle, whatever. And you're like, what are you fucking talking about, bro? Pretty eerie scene where Grandpa Joe brings Janet in. And we know she's dead now. And she's just a zombie, whatever, who's been programmed by Grandpa Joe. And she's almost like this pull string toy where she comes in. She's like, what do I have for dinner night, Dan? These are my choices. And she's being kind of quippy and cute like she does around the house in the exact same tone and mannerisms, but in this incredibly dire situation. So it's pretty creepy. And then obviously Dan's freaking out, and then she finally realizes and comes to term with the fact that she's dead, and she's like, Dan, I'm dead. Dan, and she's starting to panic a little bit. She's like, Dan, I'm dead. Please bury me. And it's fucking creepy. I love this scene. Then, quick struggle between Grandpa Joe and Dan. He shoots Grandpa Joe and bails. Janet did too. She bailed. So he's trying to find her. And he finds her in George's grave and begins to she's like, bury me, Dan, bury me, Dan. And he's burying her a handful of dirt at a time like just throwing it on her. And she's like, yeah, give me the dirt, Dan. And he's like, nah. It's just like, it's just a really emotionally charged scene. Meanwhile, Grandpa Joe is dying, you think, because he's been shot. And then he goes and puts a record on. And then you get the idea. He starts to do the old voodoo on himself. And all Dan's friends and neighbors show up at the grave now. But they're not attacking Dan. They're just like there to pay their respects. And all their makeup is coming off. So they all have like these like weird like deformities and gouges and stuff on their faces and bodies. And then they all kind of close in on him and he takes off. And he goes back to see Grandpa Joe and like he's fine now, right? And he shows Dan the rest of the movie. And Janet, with Janet in it that he showed him earlier, but then the guy on top of that she stabbed is Dan and he's dead too. And then he looks down at his fingers and his fingers are all falling apart and they need touched up too. And so basically this was all an elaborate plan for Grandpa Joe to just like fuck with zombie Dan, I guess. I don't know, but that's the end of the movie. It's a pretty bonkers ending.
Yeah.
And Dan was every single person involved, with the exception of like the doctor and a couple other people that he killed, were all zombies the whole time. And it makes sense that Dan was, because, he was from the town and, you get the idea that maybe he got killed or whatever, but he ended up coming back and like was buried to be maybe buried in his hometown or whatever. And the doctor resurrected him and made him the police chief, basically.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of what I took.
Yeah. 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 It could be that, or it could just be like he came home naturally, because you don't know when Janet stabs him to death. So that's
right. You don't know. It's the chicken or the egg type situation. Right. Oh, yeah. So you're right. It couldn't have been that, because he came home and he introduced her to Janet, and then Janet killed him after they were introduced.
Right.
And after he had come back home. So yeah, you're right. But yeah, just a kooky old, it's almost reminds me of like a little bit of a Twilight Zone-y type of story twist at the end too, which I liked.
I mean, it doesn't help that it literally ends on a freeze frame of him looking at his fucked up fingers.
It does end on a frame too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it doesn't beat like TV movie allegations because of that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like the end, because again, it's just another layer of like adding to the madness of like what he's been shown. And when he essentially just tries to pull his eyeballs out. And this is the thing I don't know. It's not worth nitpicking, but I'm just not confused, or I am confused on, but I'm not, sure what it means. Is he goes to pull his eyeballs out, and I'm assuming because the eyeballs are made of glass or whatever, that's what cracks his fingers, because they can't stand up to, grabbing at the glass. But how the fuck do any of them see?
Well, not only how do any of them see, but how why wouldn't just all the regular activities, why wouldn't he have noticed himself kind of coming apart at the seams before this? Mm-hmm. Unless he was just pretty fresh, you know what I mean? I mean, he did say that like, what's her name? He was like a higher quality,
right?
In comparison.
Yeah. So and I don't know what makes them higher quality, what makes them not higher quality, because he says that Janet was his first that he resurrected. And for some reason, the first one is the highest quality. That's not usually how anything. The best one? Yeah, that's not how quality works almost ever. Quality always improves on iteration.
Right. The masterpiece usually isn't the first one.
No. Very rarely do you nail it the first time.
Yeah.
Like, Grandpa Joe should have like some fucked up dogs that are just like, like the half dog from Return of the Living Dead somewhere in his mortuary. Those should be the early ones. just fucked up half dogs.
Yeah.
He's like, well, all right, I'm getting pretty good at this. I got fucked up half dog.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was Dead and Buried from, from 1981. It's pretty fun. It's got Grandpa Joe. He's being weird. That's the long and short of it. I'm not mad at it. It's not a masterpiece, but it's got a lot of beach stuff. And boy, howdy, is it underappreciated and weird and has some twists and turns that you don't necessarily expect. You have some that they suspect. They give you ones to suspect, and then they hit you with the old 1-2 and throw another one at you maybe you don't expect. So
yeah, it's definitely a well-paced kind of reveal of like the way they give you things. Because like first you think you're like in a Wicker Man scenario. Then you don't. Then it's kind of a Lovecraft scenario, and then it's like deeply Lovecraft. But you're not quite sure. But like they reveal things. You're also like in a Twin Peaks scenario at some point because you're like, oh well, I thought that guy was dead, but now he's back as something else. But maybe they're just doing a thing. Maybe there's clones. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're like, is he cloning people? Is he making them from scratch? What's he doing? You don't really know. So, 2 movies down, 1 to go. Steven, you are up. We are going to talk about Broken Lizard's Club Dread from 2004.
Yes.
It's all you, my friend.
Yep, Club Dread 2004. Obviously, it was directed and written by the Broken Lizard gang. And this was their second feature after Super Troopers, that's kind of like...
Oh, I thought there was... Yeah.
Yeah, no, because it goes Super Troopers, Club Dread, Beer Fest. So, because Beer Fest was 2006. So it was...
Oh, I was thinking this was after Beer Fest.
Nope. So yeah, it is an interesting, like, just... turn they take, because Super Troopers was straight up and down comedy, and then Beer Fest is obviously also straight up and down comedy, but they take this little detour to make a kind of slasher, like it's like a vacation slasher, but also still deeply comedic. And it's I almost keep saying giallo, but I don't want to, because it's not. It
has. I can see why you say that. It has giallo elements, right? It's obviously it's a mass killer and everything, but it's a very much a whodunit,
right? Yeah, it's very much more of a whodunit. There is like 1 or 2 shots that you get of a POV, black gloves. But it's not even during the murders. It's just kind of like during a stalk. But it's just like, I wondered if they... That's the thing. With them being so heavily in the comedic background, how much did they know of like slasher films going into this before they made it? Because they do a lot of the Hallmark stuff, and they do a lot of the, whodunit stuff. They have like a repeated joke where they have a character named You.
Yeah.
And so she sets up all these repeated, it's you, which is like a cheesy, it's a super cheesy kind of like whodunit joke of like, even I did that joke when I was in film school. We had a, we had a short film, and we started the short film with a fake film. And the fake film was supposed to be, from a film student that was, 100 times worse than ours. It's only probably about 2 times worse. but the fake film,
just a joke, a little lost there.
Yeah, but the fake film,
like, oh, this isn't that much worse.
Yeah, it's not that much worse, but we kind of get it. But the joke was, it has that "it's you" joke in it, of like. Yeah, someone being surprised and shocked at someone. They're like, it's you. Oh, whatever. Right. But yeah, they do that in this film as well. And they do a lot of other, like they do jump scares. In this opening scene, we have Rollo, who is a douchebag, And then we have two hot ladies who want to hang out with Rollo.
He's really funny douchebag. I'm not gonna lie. Like he does a lot of funny bits.
Yeah.
I mean the actor himself is fairly funny. Like I think what was the line at the beginning I wrote down? He was when they were just getting ready to like get crazy out in the desert, or I mean desert, in the jungle, and he's like he's got a joint and he's like, well, I torched this baby, how about you suck on my nipples or something like that. It's just like super sophomoric ridiculousness. But
yeah, I mean he has another good line as well when like they think they're being stalked out in the jungle, and he sees a guy and he picks up a branch and he's like gonna go attack the guy, and he's like, you're gonna be picking my teeth or what the hell is the line? Oh yeah,
you're gonna be picking your teeth out of my dumps.
Yeah yeah yeah. Or
wait, are you gonna eat
his
him?
teeth?
And if you eat him, how's he gonna and if you eat him, how's he gonna be picking anything out of anything?
Yeah, I know. It's an insane like nonsense line, because he turns to the girl and he says he's gonna be picking his teeth out of my dumps, and it's like, what? Wait a minute, what?
Yeah, I wrote that line down too. It was a good line.
Yeah, there's a couple of those lines in this film that are just like, if you take any time to think about what was just said, it's like, what the fuck? What? That's not. So
that's like a Broken Lizard signature move, though.
Yeah.
You know, just some like nonsensical thing that's like meant to be an insult but doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they follow it up by like they try to not give you the time to think about it, because like in this scene, he's gonna go bash some dude with a stick, and then it turns out, oh, it was just like a statue. Then he bashes the statue, and you get monkey jump scare. You had chicken jump scare,
right?
I get monkey jump scare.
Yeah. It's a trade-off.
Yeah. So, yeah, they didn't want to give you all that. But yeah, it's kind of a standard setup in this opening scene. You have guys and girls going off to fuck in the jungle. They come across this, well, I guess you would call it a mausoleum, but it's like a shrine. It has a bunch of like artifacts, you know, like there's machetes and statues. None of it really has like a cultural sense to it. It's just all, it looks like they just threw a bunch of shit in a shed.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for the fact that they're about to have a threesome. And as the guy, Rollo, is getting blown and he's making out with another chick, he's like, do you think you could punch me in the face? Like just a little bit, just like hit me hard.
Yeah. He's like, you don't have to hit me hard. And he's like, but it would be nice if you hit me a little bit hard.
But like, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, he's like this like oversexed, like, you know, guy's got to have like all this wild shit happen to him to get off.
Right. Yeah. He needs a lot for it to happen for him.
Yeah.
But while they're getting down, you know, this mask and poncho setup that we see in the background actually steps forward, and we go, oh no, that's our killer. And then, you know, hey, everybody gets killed in that scene. It's great. I like when he chases the one woman to the edge of the cliff, and she goes to turn around and like she reaches out for something to grab so she doesn't fall off the cliff, and she grabs the giant machete and like slides off it. That's kind of a fun setup. Yeah. I would say
you could tell it wasn't like, you know, first layer of the onion level of stuff. You know what I mean? It was a little bit like you could tell that people involved in this movie are like true genre fans, right?
Yeah.
And know a little bit about it, and know like what other, like it does feel like it's made for genre fans to a certain extent, you know?
Yeah, it feels like it's made for genre fans because of all these in jokes, and it does a pretty decent job of hitting like hallmarks of the giallo whodunit genre of like casting aspersions on everyone, and then it even does it to like extreme lengths, and then it does it to a point where it makes jokes out of those aspersions as well. So
very much so. Yeah, it plays on a lot of the tropes.
Yeah, so it's great. It knows the tropes. It knows the rules it's breaking when it breaks them. So yeah, it makes it both very funny, but also satisfying as a film because it knows what it's making fun of.
Mm-hmm.
We get a 1 hour earlier flashback to start the film after this initial cold open kill scene, which is just kind of a funny, like 1 hour. Okay.
Yeah.
We get on the party boat. Party boat's coming into a beach resort, and then we see, we get introduced to Kevin Heffernan, who's playing the lead in this film. He was
who's
Farva, yeah, Farva and
/
Landfill in Beer Fest.
Yeah, and also Landfill.
Yeah.
In Beer Fest.
Yeah, and
after Landfill dies, and
Landfill 2.
Landfill 2. Yeah, yeah. Which is still to this day one of my favorite gags, to just have a character die, bring him back as his twin brother, and then have all of the characters agree that they're going to pretend it never happened.
Right.
And then it just never speak of it again. It's just such a stupid and funny gag. That's what I love about like Broken Lizard at large. There is nothing too stupid for them to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's nothing too stupid for them to attempt. And like the other part of that Landfill gag is like they set him up perfectly as like he says, "Oh, I taught Landfill everything he knows." So like he's better than Landfill.
And he actually he even says at one point, he's like, "So in a way, it'll almost be like he never died."
Yeah.
And then they all look at each other and go, "Oh, I guess you're right."
Yeah. But yes, the party boat comes in with Kevin Heffernan, and he has, like some of the other party goers with him. They're not going to be that important. But, through this, we get introduced to all the members of Coconut Pete's Beach Resort and all the staff, and we get quick little title cards of their names and who they are, what they do. It's a quick way to introduce everybody because this cast is actually pretty big, especially for a slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have like a lot of people die in this film. I do like we also get introduced to the people that we saw in the earlier part of the film. So like Rollo is there. So we kind of see like how they came to their own fate. And we see that they were shitbags even before what happened. But then we get...
Well, and they... Oh, go ahead. You might be about to get into where they set up all the unnecessarily stupid red herrings.
Oh, yeah. No, I was just going to move right on to Coconut Pete. But yeah, like there's a lot of red herrings of like they have like interactions with other people. Like the blonde girl has an interaction with you and they have an argument about the drinks. Yeah. So yeah, like Rollo has a... Well,
like, and he wants him to have like she like wants to like him to have some I don't know, he's always got Molly, right, and she's like, "Oh, can I have some?" and she gives him some, but then he wants one of the drinks and she won't give it to him, and then he's like, and he just like mouths like, "You fucking bitch," or something like that. And then it's like dun dun dun, like it actually like zooms in and like makes some dire music, like, well, now that gives him a reason.
Yeah.
And like they have the fun police guy like going to Rollo like, "Hey, do you got my weed?" And he's like, "I did, but I smoked it all," Right. And he's like, and then it's like, oh, now he has a reason to like zoom in on him. He's got like, squinty eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. So they give these dumb little reasons at the beginning of the film that maybe they pay off, maybe they don't. Who knows? We do get introduced though to the big name of the film, the star, the kind of the guest star, as most Broken Lizard films have one, and this film is Bill Paxton playing Coconut Pete, who is
such a funny character.
You want to say he's a Jimmy Buffett ripoff, but we learned that he's very touchy about that, and that he came. His Pina Coladaburgh predates Margaritaville by 7 years.
Yeah. Because the whole thing is, it's like, oh, obviously this is a ripoff, but then the movie identifies him as a ripoff when one of the characters is like, "Play Margaritaville." He's like, "I think you're thinking of my song Pina Coladaburgh." Yeah.
I do like that they took the time to actually produce some like Coconut Pete songs as well. So like they play in the background.
Some of them, like Bill Paxton performs like 4-minute renditions of them too. Like,
yeah, like there's an extended version for the end credits. That was just like him singing, one of these songs. So yeah, it fucking rules. After we get Coconut Pete's introduction on stage, and he gives us a little bit more about the characters, we get introduced to Penelope, who is just she's played by Jordan Ladd, and you'll know her from the film Cabin Fever. I think that's where most people would recognize her, Cabin Fever. But she's she's been in a bunch of other kind of stuff. And she is confronted in the jungle. We get our second monkey jump scare, but she takes a swing.
You can never have too many, really, if you think about it.
No, can't have too many. But it's just a pinata, and she knocks the head off a monkey pinata, and behind it is Jenny, who is going to be our other female lead for this. And Jenny, you might not recognize, but she's played by Brittany Daniel. And
oh, come on. She's in so many good things.
She's in a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
She's in Joe Dirt.
Right.
I mean, she plays the transgender person that Mac is attracted to in It's Always Sunny, which is just such a funny, it's a funny role for her because she plays it very straight. And Mac is, always just confused about his own sexuality. Right.
Yeah. Brittany Daniel and Jordan Ladd. I feel I have this memory, but it's kind of like it's like a crossed up memory. I don't remember how it goes down completely. But I feel like it's either on the director's commentary of this film or on the director's commentary of Cabin Fever. But there's there's a story about Eli Roth being annoyed that he couldn't get Jordan Ladd to take her top off in Cabin Fever, and was annoyed that just 2 years later she took her top off in this film.
Yeah, I think you are. Oh, Jordan Ladd. Wait. Jordan Ladd is Penelope.
Yeah, she's Penelope.
Yeah. Penelope, right? Which is such a I giggled at that gag every single time. Yeah, that sounds familiar. I mean, I feel like that sounds familiar. I feel like I heard that on I don't know. I don't speculate, but yeah, I think I have heard that one before.
Yeah, I feel like it might be on the director's commentary of this film that they're talking about Eli Roth like having a bad attitude about her taking her top off in this film, but not. But I can't remember. I just remember that like vaguely familiar, it's one of those things that's in there, but it's not in there good anymore.
It kind of got rattled out at some point.
Yeah. But it is one of those things that gave me like, just kind of like vibes about Eli Roth early on too.
Sure.
Cause it's just like,
come on, dude. I can definitely got the feeling that early 2000s Eli Roth too, like was probably a little bit of a shit bag. I can definitely see that.
Yeah. But yeah, they meet each other, and then we get sent away to the pool scene, and we are introduced to there's an actor. His name's Nat Faxon, and he's in a lot of these Broken Lizard films, but I don't think he actually is like
I don't think he's like Broken Lizard proper, but he has been in. Well, he's definitely played a significant role in Beer Fest. I can't remember. I think he's in Slammin' Salmon too.
Right.
But he had a pretty significant role in. I'm trying to look it up real quick here. He got like a quick little sitcom or something like that, like a network sitcom that he had starred in. I believe.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna find it because it's gonna drive me nuts. But
sure. But yeah, he's plays like smaller roles, but he shows up a lot in these because, like you said, in Beer Fest, he's one of the bad Germans. In this film, he's just like this dude bro who is like has that kind of latent homosexuality. Like he's super afraid of being gay with his friend, but also he's very gay with his friend.
Yeah. And his friend, I don't know who that guy is, but he is also in a lot of the Broken Lizard movies. He plays the like smarmy asshole cop that they fight with from like the neighboring, police station that his girlfriend, the main character's like kind of love interest works with and hates him. He's like, he's kind of the senior officer over there. And, and he's like, at my house, my wife knows when to restock the TP, that cop. And he is so fucking funny in this when he's just one of those like rubber faced character guys that just fucking cracks me up. Yeah.
Yeah. When the two of them are together, like they're obnoxious and you hate them, but they also do something little that makes you just go, oh, all right. Yeah. I like them. And in like in this case, in the early scene here, the one thing they do is like they're being douches and they're just like skeeving on all the women in bikinis. And they're like, ooh, look who's looking to get dug out. Ooh, you want a piece of me over here? Ooh, green bikini, 3 o'clock. And then they do a chest bump. And it's a chest bump that lasts like a half second too long because they rub their bellies against each other.
Well, and then they also like grab each other's hips, like and then they're like, "What the fuck? That was gay."
Yeah, don't be gay. But it wasn't. But it's just you know who those characters are like immediately.
Yeah. Oh man, I stand corrected. Nat Faxon has been in a bunch of shit in recent years here. I did not realize, but I still can't find the name of the show that he got like a, he, like I said, I think he was the star of a short-lived network sitcom, but he's in a bunch of stuff. Apparently he was in a bunch of episodes of The Conners.
Oh, okay.
And that he does a voice in Disenchantment. He was in like 50 episodes of that. And then he does a lot of voices in recent years here. But like I said, there was a handful of years ago, a network sitcom, which I'm going to drive myself nuts looking for it. But yeah, he's in a bunch of stuff.
Great.
I'm just going to sit here and just drive myself fucking insane. I cannot find. I remember going like, I'm glad that guy got like his own show. That's cool. Right. And then, and now I can't find it anywhere.
Well, while Brian goes crazy,
I'll see you guys on the other side.
Yeah. We're given a little bit of detail about Kevin Heffernan's character. He is the new masseuse that has been brought into Coconut's Beach Resort. And he apparently has magic masseuse powers to make people come, and as well as other things like peeing themselves and falling asleep. He has the ability to hit pressure points better than Steven Seagal. Mastery of just like all sensory control via pressure points on people's bodies. Yeah. So we get that little detail. It'll come into play. We go to the club scene. This is at night, and it is just a full-on rager inside of Coconut Pete's Beach Resort. People are fucking in the jacuzzi. And Coconut Pete finally kind of has a one-on-one time with Lars. And this is where you're introduced to what I know as the real Jimmy Buffett. Yeah. Jimmy Buffett was a piece of shit, and I want people to know this. Yeah, a fucking straight up creep his entire life. Yeah, he was a dildo. He was mean to people. He was mean to workers. I've seen firsthand this kind of scene where Coconut Pete yells at Lars to put the fucking shirt on. I've seen that play out with Jimmy Buffett in real life. So when I was... Oh, really? Yeah, when I was working for a couple of years, I worked as security out at Star Lake, which is like our our open air amphitheater for non-Pittsburgh listeners. You got one of those like those by you. They're cheap to build and they seat 30,000.
Yeah, you could just put 1 million underage drunk kids in there.
Yeah.
And then give them all tickets, give them all underages. And then, that's why you're allowed to put it in that town, because 90% of the, fucking town's revenue comes from giving citations to kids that you solicit to come there.
Right. But one of the big, one of the acts back in 2003, 4, Jimmy Buffett came to town. And like, he's always been the big act out there. Mm-hmm. Because it's fucking tailgating. It's people wearing those dumbass hats or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Getting blasted in the parking lot for hours on end. And then they come into the venue and fucking fall asleep in their seats or on the lawn.
Yeah. I've done it.
Yeah.
I've been there.
But because of that, because he has this long extended tailgate, because he's a dildo, we all had to come in to work early. And so we had to work more hours than we would any other show because of Jimmy Buffett's dumbass fans. But while I was in there on security duty, I was working the stage. And while I was working the stage, Jimmy Buffett was doing sound check. And out in the lawn, there's a bunch of vendors out there. There's like t-shirt vendors, and not all of them are associated with Buffett. And one of them was Jose Cuervo, and Jose Cuervo had like this giant inflatable like bottle of tequila they would set up for every show. Mm-hmm. And that's where to go up there to go get tequila.
Oh yeah, we got one. I got a 30 foot tall inflatable Coors Light can.
Sure. So
that's not a joke. I mean, I have that.
I believe you.
If you want to rent it out for parties, we got access to that.
So I'm by the stage, Jimmy's on stage, and these two poor guys are just trying to do their job, set up this dumbass tequila bottle and get it ready for the show. Jimmy's doing sound check, and he fucking screams from the stage into the lawn. He's like, hey, can you two fucking knock that off? I'm trying to do something here, right? Like, he just berates these guys. I'm just like, that is not chill at all, dude.
Yeah. I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? They're not even bothering you. You're going to be looking at 30,000 people later. Why are you mad at a tequila bottle now? It's like, he was not the chill person everybody wanted him to be and painted him to be.
Oh. I can only imagine. I'm sure he's a fucking monster. Anybody who's been famous for that long, I'm sure is a giant piece of shit.
Yeah. And it's always been my assumption that like the Broken Lizard group also had some sort of similar story some way to inspire, like to inspire Coconut Pete to also just be an asshole in this film, because he is. He's basically a fucking fraud. Like, he's not a chill dude. He's a drunk. He's he's a pill popper, but like that scene where he's in the back doing Coconut Pete's paella is such the thing that I also saw of just screaming at people and throwing a tantrum.
Yeah. So, and then he chucks the fucking coconut against the wall, and he's like, you think any money's got to put up with this shit? It's so funny to have that be the gold standard in your head. Any money.
Yeah. Yeah. All of his anger is directed towards people who like do not move the needle at all today, and like kind of did in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like, if he had a Donnie Iris reference, I wouldn't be shocked.
No, same level. Yeah. We hinted at this joke, but it's so funny. It's such a stupid joke, but it's so the one character who's like, the love interest of one of the other characters, whatever. He's what they say, Costa Rican or whatever. So her name is Penelope, and he's like, oh, what's your name? He looks down at her name tag. It says Penelope. He's like, beautiful name. Penelope. The whole movie he calls her Penelope, and I laughed every single time he said it. I never got sick of it.
Yeah, she never tries to correct. I thought it would have been funny. There's one point where Brittany Daniels' character Jenny, she calls her Penelope correctly, and I thought it would have been funny if she corrected her like, no, it's Penelope.
Yeah, Penelope, so funny. Yeah. There's so many. I would say honestly, this is. I mentioned it last week. Like this movie is like 2/3, maybe 3/4 horror or comedy, and like a third to maybe even a quarter like horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many genuinely funny gags. Most of them are really like low hanging fruit, but just executed really well. Like Farva, I'm just going to call him Farva because that's
Sure.
like his name is. Farva is like talking to Jenny, and who she's really funny too, but she plays a straight man in this movie, and she does it very well. And he says something about he's a masseuse, something about her shoulders being tight. And he's like, yeah, well, some girls are tighter than others. And he just spits his drink in her face.
Yeah.
Just spit takes directly into her face. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And she's like, it's okay. But he like soaks her face with like whatever like bright red drink he's drinking. And I just fucking was cackling at that.
Yeah, it's such because like he comes up behind
spitting a drink in somebody's face is never not funny.
No, because it's actually a funny double take or like a double spit take because it starts with him coming up behind her while she's drinking, and he gives her he gives her his like masterful masseuse powers, and she fucking like does this weird dribble, like she just drools Kool-Aid out of her fucking mouth down her top.
Yeah.
And
well, the joke is too that he can literally make people like orgasm with a touch.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's just like, she's having cum face while she's spitting Kool-Aid all over herself, then turns around and gets his Kool-Aid spit in her face as well. So
yeah, it's so funny. The other one that I absolutely died. Well, there's a few other ones, but it's a lot of dick jokes. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of dick jokes, but I won't jump ahead. I won't spoil it. But
yeah, I mean, it's 2004. It's all dick jokes. It is. It does surprisingly hold up well, though. Like it's never like aside from the kind of the no homo bro duo, like it's not. There's nothing that you go oh like it doesn't. It's I hate to keep bringing up Cabin Fever, but like Cabin Fever does not hold up to 2024 standards. Like
no,
it is so I think for people our age, it's so sophomoric and like over the top with some of the like homophobia and shit like that. Like it's just immature to us. And then for people who are younger than us, they just want to put up with that. Whereas
I think
this film, like, this film, like, I think anybody can enjoy it. Like I enjoyed it again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know what I think chases people off of the scent of this movie a little bit is the images with, and I'm gonna forget his name. I should know it. Oh, Jay Chandrasekhar. He plays this like Rastafarian type character, and I believe he is maybe Indian, or I think he's Indian. He has these like big, like kind of raw. He plays this like guy who looks very like stereotypical Rastafarian Jamaican type of guy. And so that looks surface level. Just at a glance, you could be like, oh, that might be a little troubling. But it's not. He doesn't do the voice or anything. He actually plays it. He's like the kind of local like tennis pro.
Right.
And he plays this very like proper, weirdly almost what's a British accent, but it almost reminds me of like what the hell is James Bond's like gadget guy. Damn it. All I can think of is Basil. Q. Yeah, all I can think of is Basil from Austin Powers.
Right.
Yeah, he almost talks like Q a little bit, like this very prim and proper British accent. So, but I could see people looking at a still image of this and going like, we're going to steer clear of that,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It looks, like you're saying on surface level, it looks weird, but like it's even weirder in the film because, he is an Indian guy, but he's doing this prim and proper English accent. And then like his dreads have nothing to do with anything. And it's one of those things that you wait for the reveal that like his dreads were fake the entire time. Because it's something that Coconut Pete made him wear.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you think it's going to play into the story more, and it never does.
Right. Yeah.
He's just a weird guy. He's just a weird guy.
Yeah, he's just a weird guy. He's also like a simp.
Putman. Yeah,
Putnam.
Putman.
Yeah. Yeah, he's also a simp because like he has a huge crush on Jenny, and like she's very clear that she's not interested, but he's still just like, you know, he's super jealous of Lars, just jealous of anybody who talks to her. And it's just he's a funny, pathetic character.
Yeah. This is the thing about all of these movies. There's not an unfunny person.
Right.
Like the whole cast is funny. There's never a not funny person. Like even the bigger stars, like Brian Cox, right? Or we talked about it before. Who's the Green Mile guy?
Michael Clark Duncan.
Oh my God. Yeah, I always want to say Ving Rhames because they're both big, giant, jacked, bald guys. And Bill Paxton. These are all genuinely very funny people. So even when they pick those people, they're always picking people that are really funny. And then obviously like all the Broken Lizard guys are funny. Even like all the other people that kind of come and go that aren't necessarily like regular cast members. They always pick funny people. So there's never somebody who's like, fuck when they're on screen, you know?
Right. Yeah. You're never upset to see any one person on screen, and then they all work in different tandems because everybody splits off at different points. So yeah. The one character I wanted to talk about is Hank, played by MC Gainey. He is, you'll recognize him from a lot of things. He's the priest at the beginning of Beer Fest who's playing the quarters, and like, you know, is like is also kind of like
the back room priest.
Yeah. But you'll recognize him from a lot of stuff. He's, you know, he plays it heavy in a lot of stuff, and just he has that intimidating old guy kind of look about him. If they couldn't get Powers Booth, MC Gainey shows up is what the answer is.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
But
I like that.
After a couple murders happen, they kill a guy, Carlos, and he parasails the body into a coconut stand or whatever. And then
right behind them, like in frame. It's such a funny.
Yeah. They had the decapitation from the beginning of the film. That happens in frame in background when the two No Homo Bros are doing chest bumps. That kill happens behind them in the background. So it's great the way they frame these dumb fucking things. But they also,
this movie's, I mean, let's just say they I mean, even the spinning head thing when the decapitation happened, very giallo. And like they don't have to go to that level. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just a lot of care put in the movie.
Yeah, they don't have to go to that level, but it's what makes the movie better than just being like, because there's a lot of horror comedy now, but most of the comedy isn't using the horror for that base. A lot of the comedy is just like being stupid, and then it's stupid, or it is slightly unexpected, or it's just playing straight comedy. But this uses so many of the elements of the genre to turn it on its head, because there's so many false scares. Like this movie has probably more jump scares that aren't scary, that are just like a dumb thing, or just like somebody I equate it to the episode of The Simpsons where Bart is afraid he's going to get killed by Sideshow Bob, and Homer keeps breaking into his room. He's like, yeah. Hey Bart, you want some of these brownies? And he's like holding a knife over his head and everything. Right. Hey Bart, you want to see my new mask and chainsaw? So it's like this movie is full of those jokes. It's just like it looks like it's going to be threatening. It's not threatening. So yeah, I love that about that. But yeah, after these murders happen, everybody kind of comes together, and they're sitting inside the club resort, and they're arguing about what to do. And then you get this great scene with MC Gainey doing the Quint from Jaws, Instead of interrupting him with a chalkboard, he interrupts him by taking this long, drawn out sip out of his fucking coconut drink or whatever, his daiquiri.
He's got like a twisty straw.
Yeah.
He's like slurping up his twisty straw.
And he comes down and he's like, I've seen it 100 times before. You know, I was in Nicaragua. I was a federal agent, and I tried to destabilize Central America.
He shows him like a big gnarly scar on his belly and stuff. Like he was like Coconut Pete's head of security or whatever.
Yeah. He's been Coconut Pete's head of security. And then like three scenes later, he's fucking dead.
Yeah, he lasts like zero. He lasts no time at all.
Yeah. It's so funny. They set him up as this like big badass. He has one scene where he's like profiling people. And then one scene later, he's just like getting chased, and he's like, it's you getting chased because she's gonna spill the beans to the party guests, and he's on the beach. Yeah. And then this is one of those other lines that don't think about it too much line, but the killer is prepared to kill, and he goes, "There's always one of you type of fuckheads who's always trying to shit in the apple pie. Well, you just found the apple pie that shits back."
Yeah, that is a perfect Broken Lizard line. Just like somebody who's trying to come up with something clever on the spot just kind of fucks it up.
Right. But it's always best delivered because it's delivered with full confidence. Like, yeah, it's not funny to stumble over a line. It's far more funny to deliver a line that doesn't make any sense with full confidence.
Yeah, like he said it 100 times, and like he just maybe, I don't know if he said it out of order, if it's just like he never really thought about it. But he says he just delivers the line like this is gonna really stick in their craw.
Yeah, and then he gets killed.
Yeah, then he gets killed immediately. I think we might have buzzed over this, but I got to bring up this line because this cracked me up when we're sitting around the campfire and they're talking about the legend of the person that lives in the woods with the machete and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And his name's like Machete Steve, or I forget what it was, right? It was some Machete something. Machete Phil, yeah. And he's like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then he killed everyone, and then he chopped his own dick off and ran screaming into the jungle. And you're like, why? Wait, what? Why the last part?
Yeah.
He chops his own dick off screaming in the jungle. And then they do the bit of, and then he stands up while Chandrasekhar stands up and he's got his dick tucked up under, and he's like, and that boy was me, and that was the joke. But he stole the joke from the other guy, and they're both standing with their dicks tucked up under. And I came to the realization that there is very few things as funny as stucking your dick under and pulling your shirt up and your pants down. It's just always going to be funny. I remember the first time I saw Clerks 2, when Jay, speaking of Jays, Jay from Jay and Silent Bob does that. And then he does the little
Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill. Yeah, I was trying to think of the something horses. What's that song called?
Goodbye Horses.
Something. Goodbye Horses. Yeah. He has a little Goodbye Horses with his dick tucked under. And I remember seeing that the first time, and just there's nothing more shockingly funny than someone with their dick tucked up between their legs. I don't know why.
Doing a little mangina.
I completely forgot that was in this movie, and I was just tickled.
Yeah. After MC Gainey bites it, there's more like discussion. They figure out that it's the Coconut Pete songs. There's clues in the songs.
Mm-hmm.
And they've already seen the clues, and so like they're trying to get Coconut Pete to like jog his memory. It doesn't really fucking help for nothing. So,
yeah, he's hammered.
Yeah, he's drunk and he doesn't even remember making his own music. So just a dead end.
I remember like it's just like every thing starts unraveling, and you get the feeling of like the when what's his name that was the head of security, when they're like going to bring him on to help everything out. He's like, he's going to take care of everything, and I forget which one of them says it, but he's like, you know, I've personally served this guy 20 beers a day for the last 10 years, right?
Right.
Just like, you guys are all just absolute degenerate alcoholics, and there's no trusting anything that you're doing, right?
Right. Yeah, they all know that they're all degens. They also all have motive some way or another. Is what we've been shown. I do like, while they're doing the kind of fashion show dance, they're talking about what could be the next clue, and they're talking about the octopus, and they start like going through, like they start. It's Sam, the fun police, who casts the aspersion that it's Putnam, who has, you know, like, oh, the song's about an octopus. He's got octopus hair. It could be him. And so they're all talking about it. And then, like, they go through, they're like, well, what's octopus backwards? Soctopo? What is that? It's like, is that anything in Spanish? Zapato? That's shoe. That could be something. So it's just, again, that
you killed by a shoe?
Yeah. It's that reinforcement of just how dumb they are. Like, how not clued into being detectives they should be ever.
Well, I love the line in that bit too, when they move on to the next strategy, or the next hunch that they have, and then they go back to the fun police guy, and he's like, does his hair not look like an octopus to anybody else? Right. Like he won't let go of the whole octopus hair thing. Which,
like, that's the other thing this film does pretty well, is when you rewatch it again, knowing who the killer is, there's like pretty decent clues helping you along, pointing you to like who the killer is. Like when you know he's gone from the guard tower when doing the Pac-Man game. He's standing right next to Hank. The very scene after Hank decides he's going to take charge, and they're at the fire, like profiling all the guests and everything. He's standing right next to him. So like he's like kind of like latched himself on, like letting you know, like he's gonna kill him, you know. And then he's like he's the one that's always bringing up all the different accusations. Like he accuses Putnam of having the octopus hair. I'm pretty sure later on he's one of the first ones to bring up like Lars as a possible killer. So like he's does a lot of the work of like trying to get people to distrust others. So the whole big cast really works to their benefit in this, because you can lose track of people so quickly. Yeah, you can lose track, as well as you're not there just simply isn't enough time to give you you know, more than clues. Like you get clues, but there's not enough time to give you like exonerating evidence, because when 3 characters are on screen, that means like 7 other characters are off screen. So you just don't know. Yeah. So again, good work on that. We get a scene with Penelope, and she's seducing Juan with octopus. So then they're like, oh wait, maybe she is the killer, because she's been super creepy and aggressive the whole time. And then you're like, well, no, it's not her. But then now she shows up with the octopus. You're like, maybe it is, you know. Could be. And she wasn't in on that previous conversation about the octopus, because she is a guest. She's not a staff member. So she just happens to bring up, you know, the octopus. It's a little suspect. But then you get this, you know, it's a real, it's not supposed to be tense per se, but it's supposed to be kind of tense, where she has Juan by himself in her bedroom, but then you see like it's 3 others hiding in the closet. And they're waiting for her to, you know, make her move so they can come out and bash her. And one of them's holding like a little ukulele. It's not, again, they're not planned. No, they just end up just fucking forever, and then they're just like falling asleep in the closet, right? Because they don't want to get caught. The one thing I do like is when they're fucking, his name's Dave in this movie, but I think he's the Rookie Rabbit in Super Troopers. But yeah, his name's Dave in this movie. And while they're fucking, he comes out and like sneaks up to the bed and kind of does like a, hey, me, you switch. Like he does a me, you switch hand signal.
Wait, wasn't that the nephew?
Yeah, he's the nephew of Coconut Pete. Yeah.
Rabbit is the fun police. That's why I was confused.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the nephew of Coconut Pete. But yeah, he comes up and he does, hey, me, you switch, or like you want me to tag in on this.
Like sub in? Yeah. Like I could just sneak in here.
Yeah. Because I think he did that earlier in the film too. When Juan is dressed as the pretzel fucking the watermelon.
Oh yeah. He's like, come on, let me. And he's like, get out of here.
He's like, you want me to get in on this? It's like, no, get out of here.
He's like, he's Coconut Pete's like, fuck up nephew, like orphan nephew.
Yeah,
he's so funny.
Yeah, he's a fuck up orphan. He's also on drugs all the time.
Yeah, he's always eating a bunch of Molly and shit.
Yeah. We get a weird scene with Putnam. He's discovered, that Coconut Pete's nephew has like Coconut Pete's parents were trampled at a Coconut Pete show. So like, so like the brother and sister-in-law of Coconut Pete were killed at a Coconut Pete show.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks, and
then there's like a note from Coconut Pete. It's like, sorry, I couldn't do it more.
Yeah.
Some like half-ass, type of note.
Yeah. So this is our clues against Dave, the drug addict. But like Putnam falls asleep on the beach with Lars and then has just like this bizarre dream where like he's the killer and is like making out with himself.
Yeah, because you don't obviously don't realize it's a dream. You just see him run off into the woods and then all this stuff plays out and then you see him waking up. And then when he gets woke up by Farva, he then runs into the woods again. So he does exactly what he had just done in the dream.
Yeah. So it's weird. I don't know if it's supposed to like make us think that he's the killer. I think it's supposed to make him like reinforce that he's crazy because everyone thinks he's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody. If not crazy, just like a creep. Because he knows he's such a bizarre. Yeah. They know he's such a simp for Jenny. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. It's a weird scene, but it does get us to Coconut Pete drinking in the ocean and stumbling around, sending his hat off. Yeah. Sending his buddy's hat off into the ocean, burial at sea. And then Bill Paxton dumps a dumps a little bit of booze on it. It's so funny. And then Bill Paxton gets absolutely obliterated by a wave. It's one of those things that they just kept the camera rolling and then he just gets hit by this fucking wave and just knocks his ass out. Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. That whole little scene, you could just tell he's just kind of improvising shit in the water. Mm-hmm. It's so funny. Yeah. And then they all start hitting, all the shit starts hitting the fan. They start like accusing each other and he's just like, let's just chill out because he's fucking hammered. Yeah. It's just a constant cascade from this point of accusation, somebody dies, accusation, somebody dies. They kill off one character who's like played by Sam Levinson. I think a lot of people will recognize him from a lot of stuff. He was in Freaks and Geeks. And then just like was with that crew a lot. So yeah. Coconut Pete gets it. There's a lot of accusations about like who inherits the island. They just keep accusing each other. I know when like Putman runs off, is it Putnam or Putman? I thought it might be Putman. I thought it was Putnam. Maybe. I don't know if it says that on IMDb, but Putnam sounds right. Anyway, whenever he says they're like standing on the beach and he's like to Farva, he says, where's Putman? And he's like, yeah, we were off. He ran off in the middle of the night into the jungle like crazy man. He's like, yeah, ran off. He's like, you mean ran off to get killed by you? And then Coconut Pete's Coconut Pete's nephew is like,
He just kind of does this little like, good one, dude.
Yeah.
Got a little giggle. So essentially they just do like this whole series of like chase scenes, right? Where they go from one spot to another. They eventually, like the last big inciting incident for the last spiral is they all decide to go back to the club because that is quote unquote the most safe place because that's where they keep the liquor. But that's also where all the remaining guests are still partying.
Right.
And the electricity goes out. And then they, when the electricity comes back on, they see all the murder victims hanging from the ceiling, and everyone panics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the Dave, the nephew, runs off, and he knows how to turn the generator back on, so he can have a little party for himself. But that's where he gets killed and decapitated.
And then his head spinning on the turntable, which is a really good effect, practical effect.
Yeah. Yeah. You get that one. You get Putman. I keep saying Putnam, but it is Putman. You get Putman killed, and he's killed off screen, and he's killed in that very, like, as he's killed, he's yelling out. He's like, "Oh, it was you this entire time. I cannot believe it was you, but you will pay for the." And then he gets just like killed before he can finish it. So,
well, yeah, he throws the machete at him, kind of thing, but like you can't see him off screen, and he's handcuffed, or his legs handcuffed to the table or whatever, because they have that scene under the bed,
right,
where Farva does this like crazy like
meditation,
I don't know if it's supposed to be like a yoga move, where he makes himself super skinny and gets under the bed. Which is so stupid. Which
is also just like a funny offhanded comment by Jenny. She's like, "Why don't you just do that all the time?"
He's like, "What do you mean?" It's
like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, why don't you just do that all the time?
Yeah, but yeah, we follow Jenny and Lars into the shower as Putman gets his final blows, and he's like calling out like, "I know who you are now, and I can see who it is." And so but like his death, he just dies before he reveals the name. All he had to say was, "Hey, it's Sam the Fun Police."
Yeah. But we get the reveal pretty much right after that.
Yeah,
or almost right after that.
Yeah, the reveal comes after all the club goers see all the bodies hanging, and everybody runs away. We get a small moment of Juan walking up with the machete, and he's covered in blood. But it doesn't play out. So they go to the mud room, and they start investigating like these mud baths. And one's empty. They find Sam supposedly drowned in one of them. And then Lars goes to the third one, and there's nothing in there. And so it's the reveal. Sam has been the killer the entire time.
Yeah, he does the like eye open with his face covered in blood, so he looks like super psychotic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which it's a pretty fun reveal. I like they decide to like, they ask him why he did it. And he goes and has this, overly dramatic, like spiced up version of what we saw at the beginning of the film, where like he's like, "I asked Rollo for my weed, and he said he didn't have any, but then I saw him, and he had a bunch of weed and was smoking it with two other women." And like in his flashback, in his memory, it's Rollo just throwing like weed by the handfuls up in the air as the two women smoke these giant joints.
Well, and it's also like that was his second motivation, because the first time he asks them, he says something that was, I think, somebody else's motivation. And then he's like, "Wait, no, I mean, it was the weed." And it's like, I mean, obviously it's like this, take on like having such a just for the sake of a surprise, having such a convoluted motivation for your killer that is so cloudy and doesn't make any sense, so much so that in this case the actual killer doesn't even know,
right?
And it could be anyone for any reason, is essentially what they're saying, but we just decided it's this guy for this reason.
And then he settles finally on, he's like, Oh, no, wait. It wasn't that either. It was... Oh, yeah. It was because Coconut Pete was leaving the island to Dave. And Dave's a fuck up. I'm a better employee. That's all it was. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, there was. And he's talking about how this is going to demonstrate his managerial skills and all. It's just fucking dumb.
He's like, oh, yeah. No, wait. Never mind. It was all that. So, yeah, it's more chase scenes through the club, through the jungle. We're down to Lars, Juan, Jenny, and Penelope as they're running through the jungle. They come up upon a cliff, and they get a quick little crash course in how to cliff dive. And this is just one of those, another just like, it's a complete tension breaker, and it's what keeps this film from being like that more horror than comedy. But they all do the cliff dive, and they come up from the cliff dive, and they are saying like, hey, if you don't do such and such, you're going to hurt your asshole.
Yeah, it's like, if you don't clench your ass cheeks, it'll shoot water up and explode up your asshole and explode your intestines.
Yeah. And so all of them do it except for Jenny. And like they're having, like everybody's above water and they're like talking to each other like, are you okay? You okay? And then Jenny surfaces and she goes, ow, my asshole.
It's so stupid.
It's so stupid and silly. They swim off to a boat. Boat is attacked by Sam as they're trying to fix it. And it's just like a number of like Sam jumping out of the water like Jason at the end of Friday the 13th and attacking them.
He keeps doing it like 3-4 times.
They wrap him up in a boat line that's tied to a dock and spin that around and cut him in half. And then the top half of his body still jumps out of the water and attacks again. It's good stuff. But yeah.
And then even after they're going away at the end, like just the lower part of his torso is just kicking like it's chasing him.
Yeah. It's just his legs kicking, and it's like one of those old like scuba diver toys that you'd have in the bathtub, and it would like kick its legs. And so like, that's what chases the boat as it rides off into the sunset. But Yep. Just playing on that trope of like, the killer's never dead. It happens like a number of times through the end of this film, but it all
he
works.
gets stabbed through the chest in the club, and that's when you think he's dead. But that's like he gets killed 10 more times.
Yeah. Yep. And even then, it's still not sure that he's dead because his legs are just kicking away.
No, his torso is going to reattach. Yeah. Well, that is Club Dread from 2004. So a little bit of a different scenario here. We could potentially figure out, the winner if Steve and I were to vote for the same one. That seems highly unlikely because the one we would have to vote for would, as our second pick, would have to be the Patreon pick, which I think is pretty clear fucking sucks. So there is a distinct chance here, unless something very surprising happens, that we are going to be taking this one to the old social medias for votes. But just to make it official, Steve, are you sticking with yours or are you switching it up?
Oh,
for
yes.
Your first pick?
Oh, yes, of course. I'm sticking with mine. Mine is exemplary of the genre we're talking about, of Blood Beach. There's blood and there's a beach. It's a party atmosphere. I think it's everything. Right. Like the only other film I think maybe that trumps this is Psycho Beach Party. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that one is maybe half to 60% comedy and 40% horror. This movie is max 25% horror.
Yeah.
It is by far mostly a comedy.
I'll say
it is a comedy horror as opposed to a horror comedy. I would say that.
Sure. I would only just go back and reference the fact that the comedy comes from using horror tropes a lot of the time.
Some of it does. A lot of it comes from dicks.
Yeah.
So
that too.
Never shit a shitter. Never shit a shitter. But yes, no, it's a wonderfully fun movie. Now I am going to take my movie because I think my movie's a little wilder, and I think my movie's a horror movie. So I'm gonna go with mine, but certainly no surprise. I'm gonna go with yours second. I'm gonna go for my second pick, Club Dread, because Blood Sand, aka The Sand, aka Killer Sand, aka Killer Beach, whatever. It was god awful. So, is it safe to assume you're going to do the same thing?
It wouldn't matter if I picked The Sand or not, because if you've already,
that's true too.
If you've already picked Club Dread as your second, then I can't throw a vote that would throw it that way, and the patrons can't throw a vote that would change. So yeah. So the only way we get out of this with not doing a social media vote is if we both picked the patron movie as our second, or if you changed and picked my movie because your movie doesn't have a lot of beach in it.
Well, no, I picked your movie, you picked my movie.
No, but you changed your first vote to pick my movie because
no, I didn't.
No, if you did.
Oh, if I did. Yes. Yeah, so basically it comes down to the Patreon vote.
Yeah.
For who picks second. For who they pick for their second pick, knowing that of course Blood Sand is out for this particular winning opportunity.
Actually it's going to go. We're just going to throw this straight up on all the socials, and everybody will vote.
It's just going to go straight to the socials.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So we have this little voting block, and if we both voted for the Patreon pick, the patrons would automatically get a punishment film. Or if by some wild chance one of us switched our first vote to any of the movies, then that decides it as well. But
gotcha.
In this case, because The Sand isn't going to win by our accord, it's up to the listeners to make it win. If they truly, truly want that, I don't know why they would. You should pick Club Dread.
You should not pick The Sand is what you should do. You should not do that. All right, guys, we will pop that up on the social medias this week. So go ahead and follow us on Halloween's Forever, at Halloween's Forever on the Instagram, Halloween's Forever on the Facebook, and at Hallow Forever on X. And you can help us vote and decide ultimately who is going to select that punishment episode for next week's minisode. So big stakes on the line here. Steve, anything else we should call out before we wrap this sumbitch up?
Nah, man. It's August. We're going to have a whole shitload of new topics to go on the wheel for September. And
oh, yeah.
Because Brian just wrote a whole big list up, and that whole big list is going to go on the wheel.
I got on a roll.
Yeah. So we might see some truly new stuff for September Showdown, and October's coming up, and we'll have things planned for October. We might have some special guests coming back. Oh,
some little spooky ookies, some little guesty westies. And also, if you have any more of those suggestions for topics, send them our way too. We'll pop them right on that damn wheel, as long as they're not already on there. As long as there ain't none on there that's already a little bit like that, we'll send that sumbitch right on that wheel, spin it, and might get picked for next month's minisode. All right. For the Halloween's Forever crew, I'm Brian.
And I'm hungry.
Me too. See you in Pina Coladaburgh. They don't have food there. Cheeseburger in Paradise sounds better. They didn't have that version.
Uh-uh.
Yum, 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 yum.
Son of a bitch.
Yum, yum, yum.